Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Friday the 20th of April 2012. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, in the evening, unusually, although we do it more nightly than usual, is Zachary Burgess.
Yes, I spoke first. Surprise.
He spoke first. And Robert Kemp. I spoke first. I think you're fine.
Well, I spoke first.
Actually, Rob spoke
first. But Rob spoke first in a very specific way.
I don't even get a hello in this one. It's
really
and Rob Kemp.
We're debating. Do you want to say hello? Greetings, Rob. How are you?
Oh, hello.
Fancy seeing you on this podcast. Yes, indeed.
That was spontaneous.
Spontaneous, indeed. Because it's always spontaneous saying hello to someone at the top of a podcast. It trips off the tongue.
Trips.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, hello.
Why, hello there, sitting on my couch unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly. Indeed.
So then,
it's time for a review of the latest Sony media play.
We should save that.
Oh, really? You want to savour the fact
Well, I guess
that
we can do that first, and then... Sure. We suspect we're going to need to fill for time or something.
Don't tell them that up front. Well, don't worry, listeners.
It's like, what are you expecting? What?
What are you expecting? To be honest, usually we fill plenty of time with plenty of gaming news. So
that is true. Actually, like every time we say, like, oh, we're going to run out of shit to say, we still talk for 2.5 hours. Every time.
It's true. Apart from one time. So far, one time we've gone, what? We've actually run out of things to say? It's happened once so far.
Well,
it's been like
sort
years.
of. Maybe.
Sort of, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Rob's busy turning off his screensaver.
In fairness, I think it was because we only that only really happened because we'd done several casts in a row,
yeah,
and then weekly rather than our normal bi-weekly fun-a-thon. It's
fortnightly. Yes,
fortnightly. I hate that word.
I like it because it knows Americans.
It
Americans
does,
don't know fortnight.
But what does it mean?
Fortnightly, yeah.
How is that word constructed? Where does fort mean to?
I don't know what the etymology of fortnight is, but it means 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Is it because when you were defending a fort at one point, your shift was 2 weeks long?
2 week long shift. Oh God! Don't attack now.
I'm a fortnight watchman.
I've been here for 2 weeks.
I'm fucking tired.
Yeah, I don't think that you'd last very long if that was your military strategy to have.
I'm not saying it was a good strategy.
But I guess okay, so maybe Rob's retarded. Maybe Rob's retarded definition does actually make sense. It's like
really.
No, it's like it's something that would have happened at a fort every 2 weeks. So it was fortnightly.
It's fortnight! Is this where people like the townsfolk just casually go to the fort for a feast?
Well, I don't know what it was like.
It's fortnight!
It's time for the iPhoning. Let's find out.
Oh, blast. Press the right button. Try again. Carry on.
Fill for time.
Coming up now, live wiki.
Well, I'm trying. The trouble is that Wikipedia, I want Wiktionary because it gives you the etymology.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So, and I don't have a button to search Wiktionary, so I have to. Anyway, searching.
We could have a live Siri test.
No, that's not.
No, that's really not.
So let's talk about an iPlayer.
Oh yeah, let's talk about iPlayer.
If you want. How is it on Xbox? It's shit, isn't it? Did we already talk about this last week?
Briefly, but we've actually watched something on it now. Rather than just sort of looking at it for a second going, oh, that looks like iPlayer.
Here we go, I found the answer. Fortnightly contracted form of Old English. 14, meaning 14. Nigh, meaning nights. 14 nights, fortnight.
Yeah,
Lame.
it's quite lame.
That's quite shit, yeah.
Unfortunately.
It's basically someone got lazy and couldn't see 14 and went, fort.
It's synonymous with the term half month.
I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that one.
Related terms, fortnightly, and of course, micro-fortnight.
What's a micro-fortnight?
Well, let's find out. A period of time equal to 1/1,000,000th of a fortnight, or exactly 1.2096 seconds.
That is a very... I'm not sure why you need that one.
What is that even used for?
It must be somebody pissing around, basically, and coming up with stupid...
That's commonly used phrase.
There's a reference to it.
It's more. It's to be fair, it's another good reason to troll Americans. It's like
micro Fortnite.
You just sort of use that, and when you're planning or playing some sort of online game, and it's like, right, everyone go in on my
100 micro Fortnites, go.
Or like at the start of a Team Fortress game, the voiceover goes like round starts in 30 fortnights. Micro Fortnites. 30 fortnights.
How the hell? Stay connected to the server.
I've been in this lobby for 5 fucking years.
Facts. The VMS operating system has a lot of tuning parameters that you can set with the sysgen utility. One of these is time prompt wait, the time the system will wait for an operator to set the correct date and time at boot if it realises that the current value is bogus. This time is specified in micro fortnights. Genius. Good to know.
I guess that is like... It's a retarded way of like, so you can have a time that is in like seconds, but also scales to days.
Yeah, that's true. So yes, now the more you know.
That is quite funny.
So now, word time. This time it was an actual real word rather than
misspelling.
Oh, I've got a corrections column from about 4 casts ago.
I think I had a corrections column for last week, but I can't remember what it is, so never mind. I don't think it was an important one.
It wasn't the word unworthingly, was it?
That was it. You added a G in there, but I think it's unworthily is the word.
Unworthily?
Yeah, I think
so. Unlike a toffee.
Yeah, unlike a toffee. So instead of,
that's probably unworthily.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my correction. It's not unworthingly. It's unworthily.
No, it's pretty close.
Yeah, pretty good.
Although I do feel kind of bad that I didn't make up a word there.
You did, unworthingly.
Oh yeah, in the dictionary that is defined as how Rob spells unworthily.
Yeah, but we thought that it was actually that there wasn't a word that meant what we were trying to express.
But it turns out there is.
Yeah.
Bollocks.
There's a word that means that too.
There's a word that means bollocks. There's several words that mean bollocks. Some of them including nads, dogs' dinners. I don't know. I'm gone.
I can try.
Balls. Let's go with balls. We like balls. How about testicles?
Right.
Testicles.
So anyway, this is a podcast about video games. Sometimes. Oft. So have we got any...
Well, we were about to talk about this, and then I accidentally diverted us onto iPhone.
Okay, let's talk about gadget news. Cheap Sony...
MP3 players.
MP3 media players.
Has it still got the Walkman brand? Oh, it does.
It's a Walkman. Wow.
It is, and in like all the instruction manuals, it just refers to it as your Walkman in capitals, quotation marks.
It's always in caps, isn't it?
It's just like, that is such a generic term. And the instruction manuals for this thing were nuts, because it's like, this huge wedge came out, and I thought it was just like some ridiculous instruction book. But no, it's like, here's the English pamphlet, and then separately, it's like, here's the French one, here's the Spanish one.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, why are these not bound together, or why are these in here at all? Well, obviously because it can be sold anywhere.
And the weird thing is the way that sometimes you get that, but the 2 languages are together.
Yeah.
But then there's another 2 or 3 languages in a separately bound
book,
thing.
Yeah.
It's mysterious.
Like Finnish.
But it sounds like they planned ahead to think, right, well, it's only going to be sold in this region, so we need to ship this paper with that box. And then they just shove them all in for the hell of it. Like,
well, this
that was too complex to split them up, obviously.
Yeah. So,
do you still So yeah,
state of the Walkman in 2012.
Did you immediately throw away the CD that came with it?
It didn't come with a CD.
What?
It actually came in a really small box, which was kind of scary, and I was like, this package does not look big enough.
Wait, so Sony have actually given up packing in software?
Well, it's installed on the thing.
Okay.
The install files are in the
device itself. That's clever.
So you plug it in and it does it.
And then you just run a setup from the
Yeah, but did you just sort of say fuck that shit and just use Media Player?
No, I said fuck that shit. I specifically bought an MP3 player where you can just drag and drop files into the hard disk of the player.
Ah, sweet. So you can do that now
yes.
with a Sony.
Yeah, you could do that on the last one, but I preferred using Media Player because it sort of organised it for you.
Well, it has folders built into it has a file structure, and like if you run the format on it always puts that file structure back on, so you can't accidentally delete folders. So it's got like the music folder and the podcast folder and the images folder.
Oh, cool.
Whatever. Although it is a bit specific about what file structures it will read. It's like in music, it can only read files from 8 levels deep of files. But in podcasts, it can only read podcasts if they're one level deep in their own individual folder for the channel, basically, of the podcast. So it won't, if you put a folder inside that folder, you can't see them.
Okay. That's mysterious. So have you played some podcasts through it? Have you played our podcast through it?
No, I haven't done that yet because I got it today. So
you only got it today?
I was waiting to play a podcast because I was like, I hadn't listened to the Bombcast this week. And I was like, I'm waiting for this to get here, but then it only turned up today.
I was about to try and describe it in,
it's black, it's a rectangle.
It's quite sleek. But, there was a period where, I think when this designer player first came out, they were, I say this design, I'm going to have to try and describe it to you. It's the one that looks like a mobile but isn't a mobile because it doesn't have enough buttons.
What's the equivalent iPod these days? Nano?
I suppose it's like the Nano.
Yeah.
But obviously without a jog wheel and things like that. Because the Nanos haven't got touchscreen yet, have they? Oh no, well...
Oh, they've changed those now.
No, the Nanos do now, don't they?
Yeah. They don't have any kind
They don't have an iPod mini or something, do they?
No.
They've got a halfway house between iPod Touch and...
No, I think they got rid of that.
So what is the range now? Shuffle,
then
Nano.
Then... Do they still sell the Classic?
I don't think they talk about it.
They want you to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's the iPod Touch.
Really? Is that it? That's the whole range? Amazing.
Well, they do have...
It's like they did need to cut it down a bit, really.
Yeah.
They had a million goddamn different versions.
Yeah, they did, yeah.
But yeah, the point I was trying to make is that when these ones first came out, they had a nice snappy name, but now it's the NWZ E464, which is slightly less snappy.
Well, this is actually kind of interesting place in the market, actually.
I guess it's E-series, I suppose, would they describe it as, but...
Because presumably this is between but if you think about it, it's between a Shuffle and a Nano, because it must be quite a lot cheaper than a Nano, I would have thought.
Well, at 50 quid for the 8 gig, yeah, it will be.
But
it's not got a touchscreen.
But how much is an 8 gig Shuffle? Is probably 45 quid.
Shuffles are quite expensive for what they are.
Yeah. Freaking screen, although it's tiny. So depends on your priorities, really. I quite like the idea of having a little screen, so you actually see what you're doing.
There is something nice about that. The one thing I miss, because when I'm driving now, I have it plugged into my iPhone.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, the use of a touchscreen is not as safe as having a physical button you can just find.
That's true.
And it's the iPod doesn't make it easy.
It also doesn't really help that your iPod dock thing is quite far away.
Well, yeah, that's true. And my stereo obviously doesn't support proper syncing, so it's...
Yeah.
I lose that.
If you had if your iPod was and they next to the handbrake or something, that'd probably be easier.
Yeah, but I'd probably not look down if I can help it. Sort of like one of the...
I guess. Okay, so just put it right in the middle of your view. That'll be much safer.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just put it where in the focal point of my driving mechanics. It's...
Makes sense.
I can't remember what it was. I saw some stupid gadget or something with a screen. I can't remember what kind of gadget it was. It was some kind of thing with a screen anyway.
Touchscreen? Or normal screen?
No, it was...
Quite a lot of things have screens.
Yeah, it was just some kind of... I can't remember... This is a really useless thing to say. But it's it had a screen, and it was you can you can put it on your dashboard, only face it, and then you can mirror the image so that you can see it and reflected in your windshield like a heads-up display. It's what?
Yeah. Well, cars do that in general.
But it's this is a completely separate device, and I'm not sure even with a really bright screen that you'd really be able to see it that well, reflected back off a windscreen.
Yeah.
If it was a system designed to do that, sure, but if it's just some...
Yeah, I think it was just something that you could do with something else.
Was it a big lens that you strapped to an iPad?
No. I'm not sure what it was.
Doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
And then somehow, sticky back
I
plastic
remember
to
what
your
it
dashboard.
was. I think it was some kind of GPS device, except it was basically displaying a speedo based on your movement on GPS.
Right.
It was your car already has a speedo. Why do you want this other one that you can reflect on your windscreen? I guess it's a heads-up display. Wow.
You got less eye movement.
But can't barely see it.
Yeah.
Unless it's night, of course. Then you can see it.
Yeah, because I say a lot of cars do that, don't they? A lot of Beamers have HUDs now.
Yeah.
Which are probably invisible during the day. Yes.
Maybe.
So when are you going to use this MP3 player thing? What kind of time when you're not at your PC.
Yeah.
When's that?
Well, I have to go to various things in various places.
Oh,
but
that's true.
I haven't.
You're a mysterious man.
He comes and goes.
I've been considering that, like, maybe instead of like shitting around on Minecraft when I listen to podcasts, I could like go for a walk.
Yeah, that's what I.
Holy shit! What was that?
Exercise bit. It was
So you can.
A four-letter word beginning with W that doesn't end in ank.
Well, it is coming up to.
Where would you get that impression from?
Men.
Men.
It's coming up to the summer, so nice for walking.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
guess. You're just going to listen to the bombcast or the Saladcast.
Yeah, and because it has an alarm, I can have it play a sound effect in the middle.
What?
Well, it has an alarm
Yeah.
setting that will just play any random piece, an MP3.
Right.
So I can put in a random MP3 alarm sound or, whatever the fuck I want. I can have the classic Team Fortress Scout sound effects if I want, like Rob's phone.
Yeah.
And then just set an alarm that goes, because it's got a clock, set an alarm that goes off halfway through the time, the length of the podcast.
Right.
And then that will tell you when to turn around and come back.
I see.
That's genius.
So you're just going to walk in one direction and not stop until you hear that
Yeah,
alarm.
exactly.
And that's your range.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was thinking I might turn it into an ingenious, art project or something, but, if I take a camera with me, I can take a picture of wherever it is, how far away I get. And then, have this ingenious, ring of photos, a radius around needed.
What would you call it? The half-cast? Wait, no, hang on.
See?
That's my accidental racism.
That was a good one.
Podcast. What the fuck? I hope there isn't a podcast called that on iTunes.
Oh, God.
But,
It probably is.
Oh, dear. I do apologise.
With
That
an
was
iPhone.
totally... That was proper accidental.
I guess with an iPhone you've got everything, really. You've got the podcast, you've got the alarms, you've got the camera, and the geolocation tagging of the pictures.
But I don't need a
Plus a
phone.
map.
So,
Yeah.
but that's it.
Yep, fair enough.
And also, don't need contracts or any of that crap.
That's true.
I especially don't. So I haven't make a phone call ever.
Yeah. Does the iPod Touch have a camera in it now?
Yeah, I think so.
Interesting.
I was surprised that thing has a microphone.
It does?
You can do voice recording.
Ah, yeah. Hello. Record your own podcast while you're on
Yeah.
the road. Additional, I'm out in barking.
As small as that thing is, I know that they do a variant of it that has stereo speakers built onto it for some reason.
Yeah,
To annoy people while
Yeah,
you're
basically.
while you're
I saw.
chatting around.
I think there's also an attachment as well that you can attach to that one that gives it speakers.
It's such a shit idea, isn't it? It's I really, really despise kids that just sit around with their phones on for some reason. This is an excellent way to listen to music through my shitty phone speakers.
Yeah.
And do it in public so they can whip their hair back and forth musically and just sort of,
If it's rhythmically, right?
Yeah,
Musical.
maybe.
Well, no, but
makes a sound.
they wouldn't actually be whipping their hair back and forth. That was using a shit song that would come from a shit speaker with a shit voice. Sorry, she actually does. That's a really annoying shit voice that would just sort of annoy the shit out of people. Musically,
Shit.
Quite a mess, is
there's
there?
so much shit in there.
It just has to get out of the phone.
Yeah,
It's
the kids, buddy, in this neighbourhood have started doing it.
Those damn kids!
Yeah.
Get off my lawn!
literally, you're
I wish it was
outside.
my lawn, but
It basically is.
I
your
changed some rules.
Well, that bit out there is.
Yeah, but
A tiny bit.
Fortunately, they don't just stand right outside my house window whipping their hair back and forth with their phones.
Right. It's going to be summer soon, and that means we'll have background noise for our podcast of children.
That's true. And
Oh, good.
Ice cream vans.
Yeah.
Classic.
The sound of rampant barbecues.
Probably.
I just got. No,
I don't like a rampant
I've
pause.
got an image in my head of a stampede of barbecues just coming down the road for some reason.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
It's a good day.
And also, the other thing about that was the Sony headphones. Those classic, ridiculous...
Oh, do they still do the groove
poking
styles?
goddamn
They're the ones I use, Sony headphones.
They're just... Well, the first thing was, it's like, they have the different rubbery bits for like large, medium, and small. Who the fuck uses large and medium?
I use medium because it's a better seal than the small ones.
I can barely fit the small ones in here. It's like, jam them in, and it's like, man, this... I mean, it sounds okay, but I don't actually like the fact that it blocks out, like, all outside noise. It's like, I kind of want to hear stuff so I can be aware of things.
If you're walking and there's any kind of traffic around, it is a bit
or when you're driving. Because it says in the manual, it's like, do not all use these when driving.
Yeah, don't.
And I was like, well, I'll just use normal headphones, because then I can actually hear other things.
I suppose if you're using, like, a set of, like, old school headphones that just sit sort of on your ear rather than around it, then you might be okay. But even so, I still wouldn't do that shit.
Yeah, I don't.
That'd freak me out.
Yeah, I don't know about. Yeah,
what
about driving with in-ear headphones?
It's not like you need to hear anything apart from engine noise, really, or beeping.
Yeah, the occasional. Yeah. Oh, holy fuck!
I suppose people listen to the radio pretty loud, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that seems a bit weird to me. There you go. I don't know. I wouldn't want to be cycling.
I'd want to hear a few things. Yeah.
Headphones on.
Oh no, God, no! People do that all the time, though. It's like I can't do that. I very nearly got run off my bike when I was doing that because I just couldn't hear something coming. Like, it was my fault.
Yeah, it's bad enough trying to cross the road. Sometimes I don't know.
I get really self-aware when I'm listening to like a Walkman. Like I start thinking after a while. It's like, am I breathing stupidly? Like, am I sort of walking along going, and I don't know. Have I turned it to Darth Vader during the course of this walk?
I use in-ear headphones when I'm walking home usually to listen to an album or whatever. And if it's cold and raining, then I have my big parka coat and I have the hood up and it's got the furry bit around, but it severely reduces your peripheral vision. So whenever I get to a junction, I'm like looking round like this. I'm like super exaggerated checking for traffic because I'm so paranoid about getting run over.
That's a good sound of it.
Yeah, it makes it slightly less serious than it really is, doesn't it? It's like doop-a-doop-a-dump. Doop-a-doop-a-doop.
And I sometimes think, if I get run over and killed, like, I always think, I always sort of stride out very confidently on zebra crossings because I just think, if I get run over, it'd be so ironic, just the image of me dead on a crossing where you're supposed to give way to pedestrians. It's like, yeah, you bastards.
That's not ironic, that just means they were mad.
Okay, do you imagine sort of
I think that's ironic, really.
Do you imagine a camera looking down,
looking down,
slowly pulling away and rotating slightly while it fades to black, leaving just your corpse in the middle of the screen. And then it says, you are dead.
You are dead. On a crossing. God damn it.
Retry?
Yes, no.
That's not ironic. That's just like a bad driver.
Yeah.
It was like when I was driving home the other night from here, last week, I guess, not the other night. There was like, there was a car that had its back smashed in by a lorry. And I was like, so what happened? Did the lorry hit that car or did the car brake and then the lorry ran into it?
Or did the car just reverse?
No, it was on like I kind of think it's like, well, obviously, initially this was kind of a bit of a sort of dip.
This is an outtake right here. That's all of the last 30 seconds.
It was
the last 30 minutes, I think.
It was sort of a bad, sort of stereotype, but I was like, I bet that lorry driver was an idiot. But probably what had happened is like the car, it was coming up to a junction, so the car probably braked too hard and the lorry couldn't stop in time. Car probably didn't check his rear view to see there was a lorry right off the road.
So this is our message for today. Don't drive like a douche.
Yeah, be actually good at driving.
Be good at driving.
There was a BBC news thing where it was one of those stupid shit stories that they do from time to time to fill space.
To pad out the news.
Where it was like, let's ask these random pedestrians whether they can recognise, whether they actually know what these road signs mean.
Oh yeah.
It's like, how do you not know what the speed hump sign means? How can you possibly not understand that thing with 2 humps on it?
You mean it's not boobies?
Exactly. They didn't actually say that.
I think the one they threw up to confuse people, I can't even remember what it is, but it was like the number 30, for a speed limit, but instead of being in red, it was in blue.
Oh, right, yeah. I
don't know what that is.
I'm not entirely sure.
I know that blue means helpful encouragement or whatever, rather than negative.
So clearly that side is telling you to go 30.
Yeah, it might be, or 30 is a good speed to go at this point. Don't slow down too
Here
much.
comes the ramp.
Like, for example, like a sign that says right turn ahead is in blue, right? You turn right, but if it says no left turn, then it's red. Yeah, so it's like helpful encouragement rather than.
I don't know if it's high encouragement. I wouldn't have called it helpful encouragement. That's a bit of a weird term.
It's probably just a speed limit sign. It probably just means the same thing. They ran out.
Probably like in a hospital zone or something.
Yeah, they ran out of red.
Yeah.
No, I don't know about that.
Yeah,
they wouldn't do that though, would they? Because
no,
you can't confuse things.
No,
maybe.
But basically, the fact that we don't know what it is, and the fact that we've never ever seen one of those, probably doesn't matter.
Yeah, almost certainly not.
Maybe it just means there's 30 police cards ahead.
Police cards?
Yeah, cards. Just cards. There's plenty of room for them, you see.
Yeah,
the hard shoulder can fit plenty of cards in.
So, video games?
Maybe.
No. We've done half an hour of shit. Let's just
just carry on.
Hey.
Words. Do you want to start then, Dan? Oh, what news?
Let's do the news. That usually takes half an hour at least.
Won't this time.
Did anything interesting come out of PAX? There it is in full.
They play. There was like more playing of Borderlands 2, but that's just Borderlands 2, so
nothing new, I suppose.
Not much to say about it.
It's like Borderlands 1.
Only better.
But without dubstep. It's like they teased us with the dubstep trailer and haven't put dubstep in the game. You don't do that. That's just wrong.
What's the most dubstepist of games?
Is Syndicate, apparently.
Is it
yeah,
Syndicate,
probably is Syndicate, to be honest.
It's the only game that's come out since dubstep has been gone off, right?
Well, I don't know. People were saying that the Battlefield soundtrack was...
That is not dubstep.
Hints of dubstep. No, it's not proper dubstep, but it has a bit of, like, underlying wub.
True. Underwub.
I don't know if I'd say any of those sound effects in that music are wubs.
They're not like, wub, wub, wub. They're sort of like... They're probably wubs in the more literal sense of it, isn't it? It's like... As opposed to... Wub!
I think that's more literal.
It's got more G's in it. G's and H's, like, it's like more...
Wudge.
Yeah, it's more... It's more wub.
Wudge. That's my new genre, to come off from a...
Wudge
split off from dubstep, just wudge. Not as good as donk, but, you know.
Banging donk on it.
Put donk on it. Indeed.
Yeah, I don't really know much else of PAX, other than that, you know, it's... I don't think we mentioned this before on the cast, but Penny Arcade Adventures is totally back.
Yeah, but in
on the Rain-Slick Precipice
form.
of Darkness, episode 3.
But in a different guise.
In a different guise, yeah. It's gone all, like, low
Final Fantasy 4.
Yeah, 8-bit RPG style.
Which
could be good.
Okay.
Maybe.
I don't know, there's probably more space for dialogue. There was quite a lot of dialogue in the other ones, in fairness.
Yeah.
Well, apparently that was one of the reasons that they didn't make a third one, was possibly because they couldn't keep the writing, they couldn't keep up with it.
I don't know about that.
No, Hothead just bailed on them.
Right,
That's pretty much what it was.
I'm pretty sure that Jerry would have been able to shit some shit out, as he often does.
Yeah, he certainly does. Oh, God. Yeah.
Prolific.
So I've specifically not read... Because they did the comic version, didn't they, of episode 3 of Rain-Slick
Oh,
Precipice
what, yeah,
of Darkness.
Was it really a comic?
Yeah,
like an illustrated story?
Well, yeah, kind of. They were supposed to try and finish off where the saga went, and I specifically haven't read it in the vain hope that they get round to this. So I wonder if they're going to, like, change it.
That.
Yeah, like, retcon the story to make the game interesting for people who don't know it.
I wonder if... Because with the, like... 8-bit graphics, like Final Fantasy 4 or whatever, I wonder if they're still going to have the same, like, actual comic illustrations as well, for, like, dialogue.
they're all very pixelated versions of.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm wondering. It's like, because half the point of it being a Penny Arcade game is it has some of the Penny Arcade art.
It has some of the art, yeah. or is,
and then, like, even in the first episodes, it was like, it was trying to ape the style with, like, weird cell shading or whatever.
Mm. Or are they just going to, like, not bother? It's like, I'm going on holiday for a few weeks. This game could just shit itself out.
So, like, Jerry will have the shit out story, but Mike can avoid shitting out.
Yeah, he can just go and do something else. He can work on, like, just do art for something cool and then have Jerry shit some words out later. We're really underplaying Jerry's, like, contributions here.
I think he probably would describe it as shitting shit out.
He would. Oh, man. Oh, did you see that perhaps too real stroke lately with the art of realistic...
And the fourth panel of it as well.
Yeah, that was... Did you see that?
No, I'm behind.
He actually drew the actual, for the first time ever, the actual portraits of...
What they look like in real life.
Yeah. It was pretty good, actually. It was quite gross. Which is probably... Yeah,
his art does occasionally take on a Ren and Stimpy approach.
Well, that was exactly
what
that
is what it looked like.
Really? No, but in the fourth panel, they actually mentioned
Ren
and Stimpy, or the guy that made Ren and Stimpy, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Intentional.
So, that was deliberate. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Oh. That was a good one today. Sorry, this isn't a podcast, but role-playing, isn't it? D&D today.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, go read Penny Arcade.
Go read Penny Arcade.
If you don't already.
And watch all the other Penny Arcade TV shit.
Yes, it's all good stuff.
Especially extra credits. It's not really PA made, but that shit is awesome.
I just like the fourth panels, they're the awesomest. So, yes. I think anything else at PAX, games-wise?
Not that I really know of. No.
It's not really a place for new announcements.
There wasn't really anything that caught my eye, anyway, let's put it that way.
Zach, did you see this announcement of this new Bethesda game? Dishonored?
Oh, I've seen stupid adverts for it all over the goddamn place suddenly.
Yeah. Did you see the trailer thingy?
No, just little bits of that trailer that are in the adverts.
So what is it? Is it like the Fallout team? Like
I don't know what
else?
team it is. Yeah. I don't think it is the RPG team at all. I mean, it doesn't look like that sort of game at all. Seems like it's going to be first person.
Because Fallout and
Skyrim
hasn't.
Oh, they're first person, but I don't know. It looks like a sort of action. Kind of looks like Thief or Assassin's Creed, kind of. You're an assassin.
Do you have a creed?
Probably. Although you've dishonored you like, was it you work for the Empress and then you've
some kind of weird steampunk shit.
Yeah, it's steampunk / so neo-Victorian.
So it's like Assassin's Creed versus Bioshock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's basically it.
Assassin's Shock.
That's basically it. So we don't know much about it, but
BioCreed.
But the fact that they've suddenly started advertising it tons is like, where did this come from?
Sudden advertising blitz. That's the way you make a brand, I think, though, isn't it? They say that, because
flood the market, everyone knows about it, gets pissed off.
But how far away could it be? That's like if they're already trying to market it so much, how long away could it be before it releases?
It can't be that far. I mean, it depends. SimCity is freaking ridiculous. You can pre-order that. It's not going to be out for another year.
But that hasn't had a shit ton of marketing.
Well, no, that's true.
Well, I suppose unless you use Origin.
I don't think it's even been that much on Origin. It's not like it's been on the tickers or anything to say, buy this now. It's like, and you can't even, it's really goddamn hard to even, because Origin sucks, it's really annoying to even get to that page where it's like, something simulation.
Origin fails on all levels, doesn't it? As well.
We've said that before.
What it's trying to achieve. It's like, the store just doesn't really function very well as a store.
I haven't had any problems with it for just downloading and running a game in that sense. It seems to work.
I did have a problem with a Battlefield update once. It just It just refused to actually download any data for quite some time. It said, "I'm downloading," and nothing came down for a very long time. But that could have been a flaw with the deployment, I suppose, of the patch. But
yeah. Well, obviously these distribution systems aren't that easy to get right. I mean, Steam was a bit of a nightmare when it launched.
But yeah, I remember when it first came out, it was bloody awful.
Yeah, it was terrible. I think they put almost half their development effort at Valve into Steam itself rather than any games.
Or 100% of it, judging by how many games they put out.
Lols.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, Dishonored. Don't know much about it.
No.
What else?
Good news!
Yeah.
Halo 4 has a release date.
Right.
It's in November.
Of course it is.
At the same time as the COD window.
Same time it always is.
Yeah.
Try to take over the world. And that's what they'll do.
So them's the breaks there, yeah.
But no new info about it, I presume. Just Halos.
Apparently there were some screenshots.
Just Halo.
It's just more Halos.
Apparently there were a few screenshots that I haven't been bothered to go find yet.
Right.
Nothing, yeah, just general shots. Nothing particularly special. No real controversy. Oh, they've showed what Cortana's going to look like.
Oh,
the most important thing of any Halo game.
And she looks kind of like she did in the last game.
A little bit, yeah. They've
a little bit.
They've kept most of the Halo 3 styling, but with some slight differences.
But what's the in-universe explanation for this mysterious?
Yeah, why does Cortana update herself? I suppose she's a female computer program, so she might be.
She's a female.
She might be image conscious to some degree.
Why was imagining that you were going to make a much more logical argument? Like she's an AI, so she's evolving or something. Not that she's a woman.
She's got some spare time, I guess analysing the battlefield probably, doesn't take up all her time. She's probably got a few spare cycles that she spends on, just
upgrading her graphics card.
Yeah. I'm gonna redo my hair routines. It needs to flop slightly more realistically. Well, actually, the difference between the first and the second game is that I actually need a mouth that works.
That's what you do.
Well, okay, they could easily explain why Cortana changes, but they can't explain why Master Chief armor changes completely, can they? That's just impossible. Unless,
except for the one time where it was legitimate, where it's like,
Halo
come back.
No, I mean between these two.
Halo 1 to 2 was fine.
1 to 2 is fine. 3 to 4.
Maybe there was nanobots or something that rebuilt it in his stasis pod.
Clearly.
Like, oh, hi.
Nanites, that explains everything.
Not that it matters. I don't really care. They can make him look cool. I don't mind. Doesn't have to be an explanation necessarily, or does there?
I think it's because they've made a deal of it before. Why they made a change to him that to make one now seems like completely dumb. There's no need for it.
Yeah,
it's going to be another generic power armor suit with a gold visor.
I'll be green,
and it'll be green. Yeah. Yeah, if it just suddenly changed colour, that would be slightly more dramatic.
Master Chief is now.
I was a bit annoyed. I was playing Reach the other day, and because I've got a flaming blue head on my character,
like everyone,
naturally, like everyone does. Yeah, it appears during the game, fine. But I was kind of hoping that my flaming blue head would still be flaming and blue during cutscenes.
Yeah,
but it totally isn't.
Oh. Fine.
It's like, it's disappointing. It's like, I just wanted to sort of spend most of my time in the cutscenes, like, especially the one where you meet, Halsey, is it? I can't remember her name exactly. The scientist.
Oh,
lady.
right.
And you're wandering in and she's interested in George, and of course you're just standing there with your flaming blue head and no one's batting an eyelid. It's like, oh no, I'm fine too. Carry on.
With my flaming blue head.
It's just a bit of a problem. It occasionally obscures my vision, with like blue fire.
One too many flaming moes.
Flamo.
Mo.
Simpsons are still relevant, bitches.
Mo. We mo to the movies? There's a mo name.
So I'm trying to think of other news. I suppose Fez is out.
Yeah.
Apparently we should buy that shit. Apparently we should buy that shit like 1,000 times.
Apparently we should buy that shit and not read the internet about it. Because otherwise you'll spoil everything.
Yeah. And I am tempted. But I've got other shit to buy first.
Damn it. I was suggesting it should be a team effort.
Maybe, yeah. Some of the harder cryptography stuff that apparently is in it might be a challenge.
Yes, just the brains.
Cryptography?
Yeah, apparently it gets to the point like one half.
It's not that I'm sure it's like the first thing I thought when I even just from like the small hints of it in the quick link is it's like, oh look, there's suspicious looking symbols all over the place. I wonder if those might happen to translate into letters somehow.
It's probably all just seizures of some kind, or letter replacement stuff.
Yeah. Unless it's actual cryptography, in which case we'd probably
where puzzles lead to other puzzles that you need to remember.
Well, I'm sure it might do that as well.
Yeah, there might be some recurring stuff.
People have suggested that you need like a notebook, like some actual notes.
Yeah. There's been a few reviewers that said that. There's there's not been many games which actually I've had to think about it outside of the game in order to solve it, and they've been saying that's a good thing.
Yeah,
which is. Honestly, I can't make up my mind about that, because it's like, there's a certain amount of, there is a sort of cool fact, a geeky cool factor to having to go away and think about something, and then when you crack it, there's like that excellent, fuck yeah! But at the same time, it's like, am I going to be asked? Really?
Well, you might not be.
Well, no, you would.
Probably. I remember a stupid thing.
But there's a good thing that the game you only need to complete half the game in order to get to the end sequence.
Yeah, but the end sequence is the important thing. The first end sequence. Because the whole point of that is it's New Game Plus, and then you get some kind of new ability or something that actually unlocks all kinds of other puzzles and things.
Yeah, and then it turns into an almost different game.
Yeah. So, I guess you'll have a ending of some kind.
Well, yeah, it's kind of good in a way, because it's appealing to, like, multiple levels, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. There's a stupid thing related to note taking. Last time I played the original Deus Ex, I was like, because I'd heard about how you can get Anna Navarra's kill switch, off like emails right at the start of the game, and I found one of them, but you have to like find the other half to get the two halves of the code or whatever.
Yeah,
and well. Sort of tangentially to that, though, while I was trying to do that, I had to get, like, the passwords to everyone's computer.
Yeah.
And there's an email that you can read that has, like, everyone's... It's like, oh, no, I've had to reset all your passwords. Here they are. Listen now. In an email.
Yeah. Security is very tight in Natco HQ.
But for some reason, I'm not sure why, but for some reason that email wasn't going into my logs.
Ah, blast.
So it wasn't saving it, so I couldn't look it up.
You had to write it down?
No, what I actually did was I used my phone to take a picture of the computer screen.
Yeah.
I think that might still actually be on my phone, because I haven't deleted anything off it.
So did you get the kill code for Anna Navarra?
No, I couldn't get it to work. I actually found both emails, but then when it came to the time where I should have had an option to say kill code, it never came up. And I was like, what did I do wrong?
I hate it when that stuff happens. Yeah.
So that kind of sucked.
Damn you, ancient logic.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
It's a great game.
It's funny. Make people laugh.
Because obviously you obviously used the Gunter's one.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously.
Because I had a big hassle to find him in that stupid church.
Yeah, and the fighting is lame.
Yeah.
So they should have put that into the new one, the kill codes, so you didn't have to.
But no one else has augments that really that.
Well, one of them does.
Yeah, but
yeah, but it's not. Yeah, it's not at the level of.
No, it's not like it would cause your whole body to explode. It might like cause your arm to fall off or something.
Yeah.
I guess they sort of did do that when like everything glitches out and everyone just starts falling over and shit. That was sort of the equivalent.
You in spoiler territory there.
Deus Ex came out like last year.
Yeah.
Just in case. Always preload that shit.
I always like the way JC Denton, he says it really casually to Gunter. He's like, oh, I know kill code. I can't remember what it is. And he's like, oh, I am not a machine. Sticks and stones. It's just really kind of jilted and cheesy dialogue, but somehow it's awesome. It's like,
wait, is that Daddy? His code?
Not sticks and stones. Okay, no, good.
It's something machine.
It's the Putin machine, isn't it?
Replies.
It's the Putin machine or something.
Yeah.
I am not a machine. Sticks and stones. Oh no, Daddy. What a shame.
That was retarded.
Yep, genius. So yes, What were we talking about? What was the news there?
That was Fez.
Fez. Ah,
Somehow.
right. I hope to hear more about Fez.
Yeah.
Pinball arcade came.
You're obsessed with that one sound effect. This is a classic Rob obsession. It's like just one tiny element really appeals to him.
On the Arabian Nights, or is it called Arabian Nights, or is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, or something like that. Anyway, when you lose the ball, the bonus sound sort of just is musical. It's like it counts away the 100,000s of your bonus by going, and then you get the extra bonus bits added as well. So it's like, and it's just awesome.
Yep.
And, it's a proper pinball table, and it behaves like a proper pinball table, and the physics are nice, unlike Pinball FX, which I've always had a bit of a problem with.
That is actually a pinball simulator.
Yeah.
More or less.
It's good. But I still, 800 points, possibly a little steep.
You're just so living in the past.
I know.
You have to give up the idea of 800 points being too expensive, because otherwise everything's going to be 1,200 points, and then you're never ever going to buy anything ever.
No, I like keeping money. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, 12, maybe 800's okay, but I think maybe more than 4 tables would have been good, especially considering one of them is a super ancient one with very little features.
Yeah, but that's more for like
and really irritating sound.
True.
It's like if I could turn that off, that would probably make it a lot better.
Maybe you can.
I'll just mute, I guess.
Well, yeah, I guess.
This is a bit shit.
But it's like it's for enthusiasts.
Yeah.
Enthuse.
Like Jeff Gersman, basically.
Yeah.
It's marketed to him.
Yeah. Anyone like that.
Well, it is good, because they did do that Gottlieb Pinball's Classic thing for PSP years ago now.
Yeah.
And that had some good... That was okay, but their table selection was a bit shit. The only good one that it had on it was the one that I've actually played in real life as well, which was a pool-based one. And it has this stupid arrangement of balls actually... like a break, triangle on the thing. And it has this little miniature white ball that just goes putt, and then where the balls go changes something. And it's it might have just been an effect, to be honest. It might not have had any impact on the game, but it was just cool that it was there, because it was just putt every now and then, and there'd be a break, and it's oh, that's cool.
Okay. Crazy pinball technology.
Yeah. Oh, pinball. I fucking love pinball.
It is awesome.
I want to play a real table, goddammit. It's the last time I got to do it was when I was in San Francisco.
In America, I guess that makes sense.
It was in that museum I told you guys about, where the Museum of Games and arcade attractions, and there's they happen to have a Pirates of the Caribbean, a very old pinball table, and it's I am playing that shit while I'm here, and it was fucking awesome. Pinball is awesome. Bring it back. I suppose it would the problem with arcades, I suppose, is that they'd be expensive. It'd be £1 a play in this country.
Yeah.
But that's because the machines cost an insane amount, and they're so goddamn difficult to maintain.
Yeah, I suppose that is the problem with pinball tables, aren't they? They always were a bit touchy.
And if it's not being used enough,
I mean, even the simulation. Pinball Arcade has a call attendant option.
That's
awesome.
Not necessarily even indicative of the realistic. That's just
because the ball gets stuck.
Well, that could happen even in a shit physics model. It's now that you'd think almost now that they've got a more realistic physics model, it would be less likely.
Well, yeah, but maybe the game would automatically. You could, if it wasn't a simulation, maybe the game would automatically detect this ball doesn't move for a very long time. I'm going to jiggle it for you.
Well, they just wanted to do it. They wanted to do it in a cheesy, realistic way.
And I'm sure I've played pinball games where that happens, where the ball just sits somewhere casually, and then just goes nah for some reason.
Yeah, it's the classic. It was always it was jiggling the table, apart from without you having to do it.
Yeah,
without causing any tilt penalty.
No.
Yeah.
I might, but. I've got several games. It's not one of those. I've got too many.
You've got all kinds of games to get through.
I've got too many games to play.
Too many games, too much. Too many games.
Worrying trend.
Yeah. Worrying trend. I've got too many games.
Brotherhood, I don't think you did.
No, that's not what I was going to say.
Oh, what were you going to say?
No, we'll get to that. We'll finish the news first.
Okay.
Any other news? I suppose Captivate happened.
We don't care about Capcom, though.
No. Really don't. I know this is talking about another podcast. This is getting kind of meta, but the giant bomb guys.
We always do. Always do.
I know. We shouldn't really.
Shouldn't know.
But they were going on about apparently at Captivate, Capcom were trying to downplay the Street Fighter Cross Tekken sort of shit that they've been
PR nightmare thing.
Yeah, thanks to all the on disc DLC stuff.
Yeah,
and the weird thing that they're sort of like all the goodwill that they're trying to now pull back seems to be PlayStation only. And, like, not really wanting to talk about Xbox, like, ever. Which is kind of odd.
It's like
they're not really helping their PR, are they? By sort of saying, it's like, well, we'll sort all this out, but in the meantime, we'll still take lots of money from Sony.
It's because all the bastard hackers are on the Xbox. Whereas, like...
Are they?
Well, it's like, the classic thing with that Street Fighter Cross Tekken was that, like, people on the Xbox... were able to play, even on live, with Pac-Man and Mega Man, and those aren't even available in the Xbox version, but because they're on the disc...
So people managed to... Wait, but surely that would be like one of those things that then would make them vulnerable to Microsoft's, like...
Well, yeah, it would make them hella obvious, but...
Yeah, surely the Microsoft EULA would come and drop the ban hammer on them.
But that doesn't necessarily mean anything... And it just goes to show that if you put shit on the disc, people can still get at it, even if it's not meant to be on that console.
Yeah, it's not going to stop them. And in fairness, I sort of almost think fair play to them, because I'm not a fan of on-disc DLC. You know, a lot of people have come out in the industry and said it's an inevitable thing, and it's like, really? Fuck that shit.
No. Why? I understand.
It's kind of
I understand day one DLC.
Yeah,
on disc DLC.
Day one DLC. I'm still not a massive fan of day one DLC, but I'm coming round to it because they have that few weeks of time. Yeah, and then
after it goes gold or before it gets released.
Yeah, it's easier to release DLC through the certification process than it is to ship a disc. The logistics of it just don't add up. But yeah, Capcom were complaining or something about we could put it on the disc, but then because we weren't so sure about deployment or something, they had a bullshit reason. But then I think like even Cliffy B from Epic, who apparently we shouldn't call Cliffy B anymore.
But we gotta.
I always call it that as a point.
Yeah, it's like don't ever try and change your own name, bitches.
Yeah,
no.
Just to annoy. It's like Massive Action Game.
It's like several people on IRC who. You always refer to them as the name you first knew them by, no matter what their name is now, because people can change their name at any time.
Well, that happened while I was at university doing the Computer Gaming Society. It's like I always referred to people, even though I actually ended up knowing their names and knowing the people who would call them by their normal names, I'd still call them by their handles.
Yeah.
Repeatedly. I just couldn't stop it. Like, that's who they are to me. I don't care about their real lives. Apparently.
Apparently.
Hi guys.
Like Charmy, for example.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And Tal, and although that might have actually been his name.
But you didn't know, so
it was his handle as well. No, I didn't know. I probably did at the time, but I can't remember. Fraggy. He was always Fraggy.
Generic.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite generic. He should have thought harder about it.
He really should have.
Jonky and Jive and all those people.
So, yeah.
Good days.
Shout outs.
They'll never hear.
Maybe they will.
Dramatic comeback. It's time for a reunion of sorts.
An internet reunion.
I bet that society's still going, though. Must be.
Oh, yeah, it is. I get emails every now and then.
Cool.
I'm somehow on the mailing list.
Found it.
Failed to take it.
Well, there was a period of time where they redid the website and there was just like a little note saying about like mentioning me and just describing me as the creator.
The creator.
Which was kind of cool.
Yeah. That was pretty cool.
Word. Yeah, so they went on about Resident Evil 6 a bit as well. I still don't care about those games. The only one of the Resident Evil series I've actually sort of had any passing interest for was Resident Evil 4, because it didn't look like a Resident Evil game to me.
Yeah, that kind of look cool.
And people sort of say that is probably the best of the series.
They do, yeah.
And by the sounds of it, they're trying to sort of perhaps blend the best bits of 4 with the best bits of the last 2. So, like, kind of a best of 4, 5, and 6 kind of thing, but with characters that have been in the entire series.
They're making 6 out of the best bits of 6.
Oh, sorry. Just 4. But I forget that there's only been 1 after 4. Yeah. It feels like more. I don't know why. There's something about...
But there's been shitty other spin-offs.
Yeah.
Loads of good spin-offs.
Sorry, yeah. The best bits of 4 and 5 kind of blended together, so it's a bit more action-orientated. But they're also trying to do, like... For the sounds of it, it sounds like it's going to be like a bit of a weird mix between like specific horror sections where you don't really do much shooting, and then an action sequence, and then like a horror like atmosphere building sequence, and then a shooting section. So it might become a little bit sort of weirdly, obvious. The sections for this, section for this kind of thing, which might not pan out so well. But... Anyway, I don't care about Resident Evil.
Apparently.
But then there's Lost Planet 3 as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, why the fuck is that happening?
Because Lost Planet 2 was sort of okay.
What, really?
Well, in a sort of a...
I haven't played Lost Planet 2. I played the first one, and I thought that was alright.
Well, Lost Planet 1 was, like, good, but was also sort of...
It was a launch
hardware
game.
Experimental.
Yeah, it was essentially a launch game, so they were trying some things and took shortcuts here and there. And
then 2 was... clearly worse overall, but it was like it had some elements.
Well, apparently, like the gameplay, from what I know of heard of it, I've never actually played it. As I say, apparently, like the actual gameplay wasn't too bad, but it completely fucks the story up the ass. So you no longer care. And it's like, and it had a relatively interesting setting.
But then, by the sounds of it, 3's going to be a prequel, so that will solve that story problem.
Yeah, and you're not really there in a military sense. It's all kind of sort of...
Except I'm sure it will only take, like, 1 act, and then you'll be, oh no, we've got into a situation where we're going to need to... Because it's like, we're not allowed to weaponise this mech, and then, like, probably within, like, half an hour or something, shit, we need to weaponise this mech!
Yeah.
It's like if someone somewhere specifically states something that you're not allowed to do, you can guarantee that it's going to happen.
I wonder if it'll do because I think
it's like Chekhov's gun, isn't it?
Yeah,
kind of.
But I wonder if it'll do the stupid thing, like because Lost Planet 1 followed a very sort of like manga style storyline where at the end, for some reason, spoiler alert, at the end for some reason you get this like ridiculous vital suit that sort of like links to you specifically and becomes like super powered and then ends in like a flying sword fighting section in this mech thing. If I'm remembering the right game, I think it was.
Let's hope.
Yeah,
let's hope so.
But I think it ended like that, and it's just like, what in the prequel? What are they going to do? They're going to like these vital suits might not have been weaponized or anything. And like, so would they be this typical manga storyline still somehow? They'll probably find one because they've already revealed that one of the main plot elements is like there's supposed to have been nobody on this planet before. You're like some of the first colonists, I guess.
But then you
find shit like a big metal door, and you're like, oh, what the hell is this crap? Stuff happens, and it's like, but that didn't happen in the other Lost Planet, or was never alluded to.
I'm sure they'll.
So they just forget about it.
No, it'll probably be like, you'll go in there and you'll do... It'll probably be like Deus Ex, where at the end they'll just blow up the entire place and it'll be like, oh well, I guess that colony is lost forever.
Or everyone dies.
Yeah, exactly. And then it gets covered in snow and no one knows where it is any longer.
Yeah.
Classic.
The only thing I remember about Lost Planet is snow.
Yep.
Walking through some snow in the demo.
It was quite nice snow.
Yep.
Actually, for the Xbox's launch games, I think it was one of the prettier ones. Because I always quite liked the explosions in it, because they were sort of flamey and had a nice sort of blur effect and kind of cool lighting attached to it. It was a good looking game. The animation was kind of odd,
yeah.
But at the same time, it was sort of a nice. It didn't look quite so bad because it had that motion blur effect, like when it was really heavily done when the console first launched, and it was when it was new. And it sort of masked all of the animation kind of problems that your bloke kind of had. But then all the acrid looked really cool. And it's like, yes, it's apparently acrid, isn't it? I remember the storyline saying that even though it's spelled acrid, and everyone says acrid, it's like the storyline, the voice acting goes acrid, and you're like, sorry, what?
What? Yeah.
Anyway, Lost Planet 3. Woo! And they didn't actually release any. Like, surprisingly, they didn't tell us that they've got any more fighters on the way. Like,
well, apart from the other across, but
Capcom didn't really talk about that. They were talking about Vita.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, there's nothing really new. That's just the same game again. Oh, and apparently it's cross. Well, I suppose the interesting thing with that is it's cross-compatible. PlayStation 3 owners can play Vita owners. Which is interesting.
Will that work?
Apparently. Well, I suppose...
technically it'll work, but I just mean, is there
but really,
much difference in
who wants to play a fighting game on a Vita? Or on any controller apart from... Like...
Yeah, but I suppose it might be a bit uncomfortable on a Vita, but there's... But then again, it's probably the best handheld for that sort of thing.
Yes. Sure, you won't be playing it on your DS, would you?
No. I did play Tekken, the PSP version of Tekken. I forget what it was called. And I thought it mapped quite well, actually, to the original PSP. I could only really play it in short bursts before getting the classic PSP sort of slight hand cramp. But
I picked up a Vita the other day. They're quite light.
Really?
They don't have the heft of the old PSP.
Well, it's probably because they skimped out on the battery from what everyone's been saying. Like, 2.5 hours battery life. That's crap.
Yeah, that's probably it.
That's crap.
I'll say, that's crap.
That's crap.
Indeed. I suppose it doesn't have all those moving parts of the optical drive.
That's true.
But still, it's a bit mysterious. Like, because an iPhone has a heft to it, especially the 4s and 4S's. But this felt like, ooh, this is light.
A bit of space in it.
Speaking of space...
Well, maybe they've made it just a little bit...
Damn it,
that was a segue.
Don't ruin my awesome cut-off. Speaking of space... that space game I was telling Rob about last week, the thing that looks sort of like Terraria in space.
Oh.
As it turns out, it is one of the Terraria guys.
Really?
Has gone to work on that. Although apparently... there was sort of an argument in the...
That's quite funny seeing as Minecraft guys making a space game, and then Terraria guys like, space game!
Yeah, according to some random comments on this video, which then proceeded to disagree with each other, but it seems like it was the art lead of Terraria that's gone to this new project, so not necessarily programming, which is very, very weird, because it doesn't look like Terraria, but it functions like Terraria.
Well, maybe you got bored of Terraria.
Well, yeah. I mean, really, to be honest, if you think about what Terraria actually was, it's basically like sprites stolen out of Final Fantasy IV and then redrawn. Because it's those exact sprites with like the hands in the air, animation, all that stuff. And originally there was some very specific, like, we have to change this because it's a bit too close to Final Fantasy sprites in Terraria. But now this new one is much more, everything's a bit bigger. So slightly more smooth animations and stuff, and people that look like people instead of weird sprites of people. And it looks pretty awesome.
What's it called?
Space Starbound. Spacebound.
I think I've heard of that.
Starbound. But Starbound is like supposedly it's only appeared like quite recently out of nowhere, and then everyone started talking about it. Probably because of Terraria, obviously the Terraria connection. It's like, oh no, Terraria is no longer being updated. We need to. It's like they're finished with Terraria. So what are they doing now? Starbound. But then by looks...
No. Has the Terraria team announced what they're working on?
No, I don't think the rest of them have. I mean, obviously this one guy has taken his pixel art skills somewhere else. Mm-hmm. But it's like as far as I know, it's like Starbound has only been like suddenly appeared within the last month or two, and they've already said that they're planning to release it in summer. It's like, what? On the other hand, by the looks of the very small bits of like gameplay footage that they've shown so far, it does look like it's, a functioning game at this point. It might just be content that they're having to do. Because the idea of it is like everything's going to be randomized, sort of in a Borderlands gun style, except for everything, like enemies and guns and plants, and all the bits will be randomly selected and mushed together into functioning things. And then
that does sound kind of cool.
And then the idea of the game in general will be like you can go to multiple planets and survey them for whatever interesting resources they might have. Randomized, supposedly. And it does actually look pretty awesome. They showed the movement, and it obviously, it's very similar to Terraria, because it has, like, all the little square tile-based thing, except your character is much larger compared to the squares now.
Right.
And that means that the single square inclines act like slopes. You can just walk up them without having to jump.
Right.
So it's, like, smoother. And it also has, like, a ridiculous... Sort of like how Terraria had its lighting upgrade, which made everything like disco lights, or whatever. Well, this already has a ridiculous lighting system where it's like, you have a torch and it shines a beam, and like the beam is actually blocked by things that you get like ray shadows behind things.
Okay.
So it actually looks pretty awesome in terms of that. But they haven't really showed any actual gameplay. It's all just been tech demo type gameplay so far. And you're meant to have, like, it's meant to be like Skyrim, left hand, right hand.
Oh, okay.
So you can put random other things into different hands. So yeah, that looks awesome.
Okay.
I'm sure it will be. Hopefully it won't leak and fuck up their release schedule. Yeah, it's on PC.
Okay. Sounds good.
But, I mean, summer. Just seems way too soon.
Starbound, yeah.
But on the other hand, I can't fucking wait!
But summer's a good time for indie games, really.
Why is summer a good time?
Because there's not much else on the schedule. Like,
yeah, but...
It's like AAA's lull.
But are they... But it's like, is that even really much of a competing market, really? Like, and Steam indie game, or PC indie game, versus all the AAA titles that are inevitably come out on console?
I guess not, but, you know, even so, maybe that's why they're planning it. The off chance that people have a bit of spare money.
Sliding around.
Yeah.
Pile of cash.
A little gesture there. Pile of cash.
Illustrative.
Yeah. I actually read the backstory to the Notch game as well.
Oh, right, yeah.
It is quite ingenious.
Did we determine whether C was speed of light or not from your reading of the backstory?
No, it didn't mention that, but the entire premise is based on a stupid computer science joke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you realise that.
It's like, it's basically the Millennium Date era, except even more like...
Well, it's Big Endian versus Little Endian,
yeah.
So it's an Endian-ness era, right? The microcontroller was... The spec said it should be Big Endian, but someone made a mistake and it was Little Endian. So what is it? You put in, I want to sleep for 1 year, and it ended up being like 2 billion years or something.
Yeah.
Near the heat death of the universe. It's like, shit. I got my bits the wrong way around. My most significant bit was on the wrong side, on the wrong end. So yeah, but yeah, it does sound kind of cool. You'd have to be quite nerdy to get the most out of the fact that you have full control of that little CPU.
Well, I'm sure it will be.
That's at the heart of your spaceship.
I'm sure they'll come up with some ridiculous. I don't know. Because the idea of like operating this computer thing to like turn shit on and off and like manage your systems or whatever. It's like, what are all the other people going to be doing? Because this was almost meant to be sort of MMO they've suggested, so there'll obviously be like several multiplayer, like probably more than 4.
Yeah.
What are all these other people doing? Because one person is operating this computer, which is like the centre of your ship. What's everyone else doing? Are they like manually levering things or something?
I don't know. Well, if you're good enough at programming the CPU, you probably dispense with your other crew members and be like, I'll solo this. Check out how my awesome program for my ship.
Yeah, but then that also kind of like, is that going to be a thought over position, like the programmer?
I presume so. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to have a good one. Be like,
or do you have to like cycle?
Yeah.
Like, where it's like the Left 4 Dead, where it's like, who's going to be the tank? It'll be like, who's going to be the programmer?
Yeah,
you're up. Go. Yeah. Don't fuck this up, and then inevitably everyone who isn't the awesome programmer fucks it up.
Yeah. Well, that's just like Left 4 Dead. Yeah. We shall see. Yeah, I don't think anyone knows enough about it to be able to say.
No.
But yeah, it's intriguing. It'll be a while before we get...
Before there's any kind of anything out of that, really.
Quite a long... Starbound will be playing for years before that thing comes out. Yeah. Rolls off the tongue a bit snappier than OX10T.
Yeah, exactly. I see Rob's derision towards Minecraft is overrunning into the next game.
I'm not on the Notch bandwagon.
0x just means the following is in hexadecimal, doesn't it?
We already discussed this last week.
Yeah. So 10 means 16, right?
But then you can't have C in superscript if it's a hex number.
That's true.
We discussed this last week.
No, but you could just represent
Stop having exactly the same discussion.
Yeah. Okay, enough.
How
much are we talking about?
Well, that was the end of news, wasn't it?
That's the end of news.
I can't think of much else.
Okay.
We filled a good lot of time.
Can we move on to what you've been playing?
Yeah.
Who should go first?
Has anyone got anything actually new?
Yeah, okay, so I finished Mass Effect 3.
That's not technically new, because you did say you were playing Mass Effect 3 last week.
Oh, it's not new. It's not a new game.
You finished
Anyone got anything new?
But you also can't talk about it, so...
It depends how you look at it. I could try and talk about it without doing any spoilers.
Well, do you think that these ridiculous, outrage is even slightly justified? I mean, obviously it's not fully justified because it's internet rage, and therefore it's inevitably ridiculous.
So I could probably talk about this without spoiling it in that respect.
You can give your feelings towards the ending and stuff like that without telling us what the ending actually is.
The ending is... So, I can see where they're coming from. They are literally talking about the last 5 minutes of a 30-hour game. Literally 5 minutes.
It's quite an important 5 minutes, though. You're wrapping up 100 hours of game.
Well, the thing is, you are, but the thing is that, it's not like you do a mission, and then suddenly, bang, it's the end sequence or whatever. You have a whole end game, with the battle for Earth or whatever, which is inevitably what it's going to be, right?
Yeah.
That's not a spoiler to say that. But it lasts for hours, absolutely. The end game lasts 3 hours. And during that time, annoyingly, it greys out the save options. So I was there until 1 in the morning because I couldn't save. Yeah, as soon as you commit to go save Earth or whatever.
Did it take 3 hours because you died a lot, or was it just that it literally took 3 hours?
No, it literally did. I mean, there was even a bit after the first hour where you could walk around and talk to people, like a base or whatever. You could talk to characters. You could pick up items or whatever. A non-combat section still wouldn't let me save. It was a natural stopping point, and it was like, nope, you're not saving here. I'm not totally sure what the purpose was. Maybe it's to ensure that you can't just reload and see the other endings away or something. But even then, it would have been another hour at least.
I sincerely hope that's not the case. I wonder if it auto-saves so you can continue.
Oh, it auto-saves.
Can't manual save. Oh, so you can just stop.
I think. The thing is, it auto-saves so that if you die, you revert, right?
Oh, the checkpoints.
But, it checkpoints. But I wasn't confident enough to, quit the game because I couldn't hard save. So I was like, should I quit the game and lose, an hour of momentous progress?
That is odd.
Yeah, so that was kind of annoying. But anyway, it spends a long time ending, really. You get a lot of conversations, because there's loads of characters in the Mass Effect universe, right? And they all start having sort of goodbye type conversations from the start of that 3 hours or whatever. So, I mean, some of the complaints are that I've seen on the internet are there's not enough epilogue. What happens after the ending to all the different characters? What happens to this guy? What happens to that guy? And it's
that's Mass Effect 4 bits.
Yeah, it's there's no closure on these characters. But for me, you get loads of closure on individual characters leading up to the end because you get to talk to them. You have all these. It's been an honor. You keep hearing it's been an honor. It's been an honor. Over all different things with different characters. They basically wrap up every story they can before the end. So I don't think it's a legitimate complaint to say, there's not enough closure on these things.
You just reminded me of that stupid bit of text from Valkyria Chronicles where it goes, I present to you this honor. It's an honor.
It's an honor. Yeah, there's quite a lot of that going on at the end. It's not too over the top, thank goodness. It's because you're invested in those characters and stuff, it feels right to have those moments or whatever.
Yeah, but when they're all it's been an honor or whatever.
Yeah, this is it, the final push, whatever.
Is it? It's I'm trying not to lead into a spoilery.
Don't worry, I won't.
Are they? Are they saying that with the idea that both parties are going to die, or is it just that you're going to die and they're going to leave?
It's more like, to be honest, the whole game is bringing everyone together for a big battle.
Yeah.
So it's all everyone in it together, basically, at the end. There's no one who's like, oh, good luck, bye. Everyone's like, right, we're going to help.
Right, yeah. So
provided you haven't fucked up the game earlier on, it'd be like, yeah.
But so it's like, so they're saying it's been an honour, like, assuming that both parties are going to die.
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah, but so that makes sense that it's like wrapping up the story, except it's like, that's fine, apart from they survive. So that reopens it, basically.
I suppose.
Some of them survive, I assume. I mean, not everyone, every single person dies.
Depending on
what you do,
what you do. Just like Mass Effect 2, if you just skip through everything, then obviously everyone's going to fucking die.
Yeah. So it's just like, they close it, but then unfortunately due to the idea of you having a choice to, like, do better at the end, I guess.
Or not a choice, but a based on your performance choice, yeah.
But then it's like, so then they reopen it by having some of them survive.
True, absolutely. But that happens at the end of loads of freaking franchises and games that, like, oh, what happens next, or whatever. I don't think it's like...
they didn't have to go... I think, like, what the community outrage is like, you wouldn't have even had to go very far into it. It could have just been, like, one sentence to say what this person did next, and that's what they keep referring to, like...
Oh, that's
someone made a YouTube, fake...
Animal House ending.
Yeah, that's what they call it. Where it's just, like, a thing that says, like, what happened to the GIF? Did the war end? I mean, does that happen in this game, I guess?
Because that's the thing, you get a whole bunch of closure throughout this whole game on different things.
Yeah,
like
on ridiculous things that should never have ended in, one day.
Yeah, it's like, exactly.
I mean, obviously they had, that sort of makes sense because you're like, you've got to bring the whole universe together.
Yeah. Because it's good in that way, the whole game, like, taken as a whole. Because it's got things like, well, what about the Geth? Yeah. And it's got like, well, what about the genophage? Or what about these things that have been running through the entire series?
It's like during the game, you're sort of ridiculously solving all these problems.
Yeah, sure.
To bring everyone to the end. But that doesn't mean it won't go back to the way it was after the end of the game. It's like, they needed to add just like one more line to say whether, like, the Geth got really pissed off after you destroyed the thing, and then they decided to go for another war or something.
And Shepard turned out to be asexual.
That took you a long time to come up with that word.
Oh, that's not the word I was looking for.
No.
Hermaphrodite.
Asexual is not right, because depending on how you've played it, you've definitely shagged a couple of people.
Well, in theory.
Well, yeah, you don't know, you don't see anything. You could be using... tools.
Omni tools.
Omni
by definition.
There's Medigel and there's Sexy Gel. Yeah. Omni by definition. Yeah.
That literally means everything.
It does.
So, check this attachment out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so...
I've upgraded my gun.
In one sense, it's a whole game full of closure. It ties up a whole bunch of loose ends.
Maybe too fast.
Well, over the course of the game, rather than right at the end.
Yeah, but still maybe too... Like, considering the galactic scale of these, like... things that have been going on for millenniums or whatever.
Yeah, but you've got to... This is a stupid space opera, isn't it? It's not realistic in any way, shape or form. Like, it's pretty dumb that the entire fate of the galaxy comes down to one person 3 times in the course of 6 years.
Well.
Or something.
Yeah, but they were also... That's all really just one time.
Yeah, true.
It's just 3 events in the big one.
Yeah. So the endings, they're influenced, just like Mass Effect 2, by your performance throughout the game. I just did all the single-player stuff. I did the N7 missions, which are like the multiplayer, but on your own, but with some story justification. So I did all that stuff. So I had my galactic readiness rating up, but it wasn't enough to get the best ending.
No.
So for that, I think you don't. Apparently, you don't have to play the multiplayer, but I hadn't done absolutely everything, so I didn't get the best ending. But the one I got, I was fine. I was happy with. But if you play the multiplayer, you can get a quotes better ending or whatever, but it depends. So right at the end, which I won't spoil or anything, but the last 3 minutes that everyone's complaining about is it's a dial-in ending. Like, obviously, it's pick an ending, push a button. It's not quite. Now, it's a lot better than. Well, I won't say a lot better, but it's better than Deus Ex Human Revolution, which was literally buttons. This is much more dramatic, and the choice it presents you, which I won't go into, does make you think, oh god, there's no clear... It's quite ambiguous. I think if you have more readiness or whatever, I've looked up and there... So I got 2 options, but apparently there are actually 3.
More.
But that third option that I didn't get wasn't necessarily better than the other ones. So, do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, they're all sort of fairly morally interesting. I was presented with a choice, and I immediately thought of Deus Ex. The first Deus Ex. So let me, when you get to that point, let me know if you feel the same, and we can discuss. But what are the endings of the first Deus Ex? There's
merge with the computer.
The
internet,
which means technology. You control all technology, right?
Yeah.
Or you can destroy all technology.
Yeah, all technology.
Or or become Luddite, right?
Yeah.
Or destroy all sort of. You basically
go back to
medieval, yeah. And what's the third option?
I can't remember. Do you let someone else?
Oh, it's Illuminati, yeah, isn't it? Where you just, what's the Illuminati end?
I don't know.
You know?
I can't remember. Like, do you let Bob Page? Do you let him do it, or do you always stop him?
I think you always stop Bob Page, right? Yeah. So. In Mass Effect, Bob Page is the elusive man. There you go. I won't say any more than that.
That's a bit of a spoiler.
Not really. Anyway.
I mean, it is fairly obvious. That's
obvious,
yeah, in the same way.
Yeah. Anyway, I won't go into any more about the ending. But I don't think it was the best ending ever, but I think... I think it was a much better ending than L.A. Noire, put it that way. Well, that really disappointed me. Whereas this, I was like...
in gaming as a whole, because gaming doesn't have much of a track record for good endings.
Well, that's true.
Stories generally wrap up in a pretty shit fashion.
Yeah, they're getting better, but I think you're right. I thought Red Dead had a really good ending, personally.
Red Dead is fantastic.
L.A. Noire, bad ending to a good game.
Yeah.
So that's the spectrum there. Mass Effect is somewhere in between there.
No, that's not a very detailed graph, that. It's like 2 points.
The 2 Assassin's Creed games I play end quite well.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
You know, there's a hook in 2. There's a definite... there's a definite hook in both of them, actually, sort of to make you just sort of go...
Well,
I suppose one
then
was
it's
a bit...
not an ending.
I suppose one's was a bit disappointing simply because the modern part of that storyline doesn't really go anywhere throughout the entire game. It's and then the the past one does all the legwork, whereas 2 has some hooks to the modern stuff, but the back end story stands on its own again. It's not really comparable. That's the trouble
because they don't.
They're endings that are making us.
They're cliffhanger endings. But I suppose by that logic, Halo 2's is still bad.
But even Halo 3 had a hook in it, and Mass Effect.
Yeah, Halo 3's was good. I thought, as far as an ending to that series went. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, it was fine.
Halo 3. Halo went a bit nuts for Gravemind. In all honesty, they really could have probably done without Gravemind.
Yeah, sure.
But it's a.
But yeah.
Well, actually, Gravemind would have been okay if it wasn't for the way that both he and Cortana were used in Halo 3 with the stupid "I can just talk to your head from anywhere" type things.
That makes sense.
Not really.
It's like, well, no. It makes sense later on. I was going to say it's like clearly the Flood is like a big psychic network or whatever, which is why there's Gravemind in the first place. So it makes sense that could interfere with human minds. But I guess Cortana talks to you before the Flood even land on Earth. So
yeah,
it's a bit mental.
Maybe that's just an after image. Maybe it's like leftover data in your brain chip or something.
Could be
brain chip.
So Mass Effect, anyway.
Yeah.
So spoilers for Mass Effect 2 and 1, I guess. Not that anyone cares. But I immediately went back and started looking and trying to remember all the key points from the previous games that had some bearing, thinking, what? Because I have to admit, the moment I finished it, I was like, what? Like,
how could that have gone any differently?
Yeah, or what does this mean? Like, you do immediately reflect on the whole series and think about it. It is quite a powerful ending. I mean, all the stuff on, on Earth or whatever with the Reapers and stuff, it is quite horrifying and stuff. And they pull that off. I mean, like when you're fighting on Earth or whatever, which you knew would happen, just the light and the sound of the Reapers and stuff, it's very harsh and flashy, and it just does look like the end of the world. It's very effective. Like I was saying before, the dynamic range on the audio, it's very cinematic in a blockbuster way. There's like everything's very loud and flashy, and it's effective. But what I was going to say was, our thing about, well, what was the point of the first game if all you did was you shut off the
shut off the mass relay
in the Citadel, right? But they were on their way anyway.
Yeah, so and then it only took a couple of years for them to get there.
For them to arrive. So I look back and I realised that the idea of that wasn't the speed that you could get there. It was a trap because the Reapers made the Citadel, right?
Yeah,
but they also made
sort of.
Yeah, okay. Well, it was Reaper. It wasn't the Protheans at all, right? Because it was there before the Protheans.
Well, you assume it's the Reapers.
Yeah,
it might have been some really ancient civilization in theory.
Yeah, but it's part of the Reapers' plan, right? And the mass relays equally are Reaper technology or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Maybe the Reapers are this ancient civilization we're talking about.
Maybe.
But the point was that the Citadel was so perfect a place for every galactic cycle, for all the advanced races to culminate and form a government or whatever, that every time it would be on the Citadel, and every time they could, with no warning, immediately wipe out the centre of galactic government.
But this time they had warning.
Yeah, so. Because they shut that off. They couldn't, because that would be their first moment of attack, would be just black the Citadel.
Yeah, but even if you think about even governments today, they all have backup plans where it's like, if the president gets killed, you immediately open this secret envelope and have this immediate response.
But that is a pretty Pearl Harbor-like
but then that might have been
strike.
That might have been had the same problem, because then the Reapers would have cut off the Citadel, so it has no real communication method, I guess, perhaps. And then people would start going, what's the contingency plan? Well, it's probably going to protect the Citadel. So, they just hide out for a while. It's like, someone pops in, murder. Someone pops in, murder. There you go, contingency plan fucked.
I'm sure there's, ways that people could communicate that kind of data. And you probably assume there's something bad.
Well, we don't know if there are, can we?
Yeah, I don't know.
There are, because they have their how the communication relays work, don't they? Because they say they have those satellites that they have to launch in the system that are connected to the mass relays.
Is that how they work?
That transmit all the communication signals. I assume if it goes black, you're probably like, that's probably not good.
Yeah,
maybe, but that might be the reason why you're acting on a contingency plan. If it's gone black, then you go get help.
No, I think if it's gone black, it's probably shut down the gate or keep a guard on that end.
But you wouldn't know, would you?
You scout it. You don't just send everything through.
I guess, yeah.
And then if the scout scans don't come back, then you definitely don't go.
But then no one will know that the Reapers exist, so they still have surprise element.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be able to just go bang into the Citadel, I guess. But it still puts everyone on edge, which is probably... Yeah, they'd still have the surprise thing.
That was the idea anyway. Yeah. And so Sovereign was hanging around, was the only Reaper still in the galaxy, while everyone else was in dark. All the other Reapers were in dark space. And it was supposed to transmit a signal to the Keepers on the Citadel to open the gate, but it didn't work, right?
Well, it partially worked.
But yeah. So it had to get Saren involved and the Geth, and it had to think, oh shit, what am I going to do? I've got to find some other way to
Which turned out to be just direct interface.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Why did they need?
They only needed the Geth. They needed the Geth army as a fleet distraction, so that Sovereign could actually just fly it there and interface directly.
Yeah, absolutely, to interface directly, wasn't it? Because the Sovereign reprogrammed and augmented Saren, didn't he?
Yeah,
and made him part Reaper or whatever, and.
But he just needed to interface directly with the Citadel, but because obviously there was a whole ton of ships there, he didn't want them to go flying in there without backup. So recruit the Geth.
Indeed. And the Krogan, well, sort of. Wasn't he building a Krogan clone army on Vermeer or some shit? Do you remember in the first game? This is why I'm trying to remember all that stuff. Do you remember? And there was a Solarian SG team, and you had a big battle, and that's where Rex is like, fuck you. The Genophage is evil, and that's where he can die in the first game. And it's actually quite hard to save him, I seem to remember.
That's the watery planet.
Yeah, I think
it was Krogan clones.
Yeah, but they were for Saren, weren't they? I think.
I'm not sure.
Trying to remember what happened in the first game is quite hard.
It might have been, but I mean, that was probably Saren's own plan or something.
Yeah, probably. And then Sovereign.
Because I can't imagine why Sovereign would. I'm sure Sovereign was only after space fleets.
Yeah, I expect so. To distract so that he could interface with the Citadel and let all the other Reapers through. Yes. So yeah. Oh, and that jump gate from that weird planet Elos directly to the Citadel.
Yeah.
That was the conduit.
Yeah.
That's right, isn't it? And that was actually reverse engineered. So that was actually made by Protheans.
Mm.
So that makes sense.
Which is why it was tiny.
Yeah.
Because they were we can't get this to work on big scale yet.
Yeah, so we'll just have this tiny little one. So I suppose, Mass Effect 1 has a sort of, before the ending starts, the end game starts, it has a little twist. It's like where you talk to the Prothean VI on Ilos, and it's like, oh, the Citadel is actually a trap. And then Mass Effect 2 has a similar sort of twist where it's like, oh, the Collectors are actually the Protheans, sort of.
Yeah, kind of.
But Reaper controlled. And so Mass Effect 3 again has an right, yeah, that makes sense. Before the end game starts. So you'll come across that one. Just so you know, there's yeah, that makes sense.
Those were kind of the key moments, weren't they?
Yeah, there's one of those in 3.
Well, there was 2 actually in 1, wasn't there? Because the reveal of the Reapers in general.
Yeah, that's true.
And what the fuck
the fact that Sovereign was a Reaper itself, the ship, and it was controlling Saren, rather than,
Although that sequence wasn't great,
no,
I suppose, but it's the story point was good.
Well, both those sequences were basically the same. Talk to a hologram.
Yeah. I suppose you're right. I suppose the Prothean one has a bit more impact because it's like, oh, it's a Prothean. What the shit's going on here?
Yeah.
But maybe less impact because it was just like, I'm driving down this incredibly long corridor. There's a mysterious energy barrier in the way. I better walk off this tiny corridor.
Oh man, the actual game design of the actual gameplay on levels and everything has dramatically improved over the course of the series.
I think that's when I think about, because as I mentioned before, I started Mass Effect 1 again, didn't I, for a bit. And then I think when I actually got to the actual gameplay,
it was like,
all of a sudden I don't really feel like playing it so much again.
Whereas 3, it's like, if in some ways, as a 30-hour game, it's quite short for an RPG, or compared to previous Mass Effects. But it's like you could equally think of it as a almost, if you take out the talking, maybe it's a 20-hour long top tier sort of action game in a way, which is double what you get out of a Gears of War or something. I'm not saying it's as slick as a Gears of War in terms of shooting, but it's got a lot more variety in terms of, because you've got the different classes you can play. And so the level design is just as good, or whatever, with the environments around. There's some pretty dramatic, not just skyboxes, but just huge cities that are being destroyed by Reapers as you're moving through them and stuff on multiple worlds or whatever that you visit throughout the course of the war of the game, which are pretty impressive stuff, some of it. Got a grand sweep in general. So yeah.
Boosh!
So Mass Effect 3.
Salad rating?
Well,
what do you get to play next?
What am I going to play next?
Yeah.
I haven't
What's in your queue?
What's in my queue is
Witcher 2?
Yeah. So the things in my queue are. I was thinking of getting Bastion out of the way.
That should be relatively
as
short,
a bite
I
size.
I keep forgetting I have that.
And then I've got Witcher 2 and Shogun, which I still haven't played.
Shogun is like...
I heard that Witcher 2, they've done this enhanced edition for consoles, but I think there's going to be a big patch, or there already has, that adds all that stuff to the PC, or not all of it.
But they already did several patches for Witcher 2 to make it actually work.
But now this is going to be like change the lighting and stuff. I thought, I might as well wait for that. I do have other stupid gaming news. I popped back into Skyrim.
Yeah.
Right. And it was fucked.
How fucked?
ATI silently background updated my drivers.
Right.
And fucked at everything. So like all the particle effects had this weird blocky effect and you could see through buildings and stuff. It was just totally screwed. And then in the patch notes for the latest version of the drivers, it says fixed problem. Not fixed. Not fixed at all. So if I want to go back and play more Skyrim, which I do at some point, I'm going to have to revert my drivers, which is bloody annoying. Damn you, AMD.
I've had to do that a lot, though, in NVIDIA land, especially when Battlefield 3 came out. I had to mess with it a bit.
Battlefield 3 had all kinds of, they were making patches very specifically for Battlefield 3.
Yeah.
And, you had, the beta ones that were designed for the beta of Battlefield 3. It's like, don't use these when you come to the actual game.
Well, yeah, there were certain ones, even when NVIDIA first announced, it's like, this is the proper driver set for Battlefield 3, and it's like, no, this totally doesn't work.
Yeah.
Not for me, anyway. I had serious problems with it. And then they patched Battlefield 3 and most of itself rather than the drivers, and it sort of went away. But, yeah.
I'm just annoyed, because it worked perfectly fine while I was playing it, and then I loaded it up and I was like, oh god, is my PC fucked or something? Nope.
You didn't have any mods installed or anything?
No. I don't think I have tried them, any mods. I run auto hotkey.
But there's some mods for other stuff other than the interface.
Yeah, obviously I wanted to dive into that stuff, because now there's some pretty cool stuff out there for the map and things. And...
Yeah, I never got any really interesting mods. I was just like, I got the mod that makes it so that when you have all your millions upon millions of alchemy ingredients, you can just push one button and it puts them all in one go.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go through your alphabetical list and go, deposit all, deposit all, deposit all.
Yeah.
That was my main mod. And also the one that puts an enchanting table in the house in Whiterun.
Yeah,
because it's really inconvenient to have to run all the way fucking up to the castle every time you want to enchant.
Yeah, that's really annoying. Yeah. I want to get back into that a little bit, so I still haven't. But yeah, so that's my queue if you're interested. If you have any preference, it will be Witcher 2, I think, although I'm putting off Shogun forever. I think it will, though. Well, I will see about that. Yeah. But a few things to be getting on with. And I want to play games that are actually coming out. Max Payne 3, I'm excited for, so...
I'm still not sure about that.
You want to play games with us?
Sure.
Pay more Team Fortress.
Bit more TF2.
Portal Co-op.
And, yeah.
Portal Co-op.
Portal Co-op, indeed. Oh, and I tried that Tribes thing, I said.
Yeah.
I didn't try the actual multiplayer yet, but I just downloaded it and gave it a quick zoom around.
Yeah, did you try and learn how to do the actual thing?
I tried to learn how to ski, and it's quite fun. I don't know how it will work combined with actual combat. It's quite fun to move around that way. I don't know how you'll combine that with actually shooting at people and trying to actually hit them.
There's one guy who just spouted constantly about whether he was in the Vita, just into an IRC channel. Sort of like I do with Eve. But he's just typing stuff constantly, and it's like, so I don't really know that much about Tribes. It's like, are you getting over 200 in speed?
Yeah, it does give you a speedo, I think, which is quite hilarious.
And of course, the actual thing that I found was, I'm sure it's really obvious in if you've ever played Tribes before or whatever, or maybe it's not. Maybe it's actually new in this version. But the thing where there's an armor an armor mod or something that makes you sort of heavier or something.
Right.
But basically it means that if you're standing still and someone hits you, they die. So you combine that with a cloak and you just stand on your flag.
Oh, that's clever.
So every time someone tries to pick it up, they just splat onto you and die.
Genius.
But then there's sort of a counter mod to that, supposedly, that makes it so you can grab the flag from further away. So you don't have to directly hit the flag.
Genius. I think it sounds quite... It looks like it might be quite hilarious fun.
I'm sure it's fucking difficult, though.
Yeah, well...
I bet as soon as you get any one person who's good at manoeuvring...
It'd be pretty screwed.
Or the sort of idea of team games in general, where if you don't have some kind of coordination...
Because the thing with the skiing thing is, once you're up to speed, you can't really turn very much. You can flip around and shoot in any direction or whatever, but you carry on travelling in basically the same direction.
Yeah.
So if you're going at insane speed, and then your enemy is like coming towards you, or just offset or whatever, and you're just sort of shooting each other as you zoom past each other, like...
What you really need is some sort of samurai sword, so you can have one of those classic sort of, like, where they charge at each other and then it goes slow-mo as they pass.
Yeah.
I'm sure,
and then one person dies.
I'm sure a melee weapon tries to be really fucking impossible to hit.
Yeah, it's got melee, but it's just got quite more range than it looks like it ought to have. So the melee is like this far out. But because I tried it on some bots or whatever, and the melee range is surprisingly long, but it would have to be, because otherwise you'd never hit anyone.
Yeah.
And it's incredibly powerful as well.
Naturally.
So I suppose if you're... Because there's a lot of verticality as well, because you obviously got jump jets, so you can go as high as bloody like.
Yeah.
And someone falling on you is like, chop! Yeah. It's all about sort of presumably like things moving and sort of coming together, so you have to lead all your shots and make sure they intersect with where they're going to be at the point where, obviously,
that's what it's all about.
Along with you moving upwards and outwards, and I don't know, it looks crazy, basically. Graphically, it's like, it's Unreal Engine, and it looks nice enough initially, but then you realise that the environment's so extreme, and then you think, oh, well, these environments are really bare. There's not much to them. But then you realise, yes, they have to be, because otherwise you'd be running into stuff, and it would clipping off things, and you wouldn't be able to just skate across this crazy hilled, very smoothly...
It's like they shouldn't have. It's like they shouldn't have put a grass texture on it.
Yeah, maybe.
They should have made it like, I don't know, in virtual space or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Make it a completely artificial terrain.
Yeah, I guess.
And then it wouldn't have felt bare. It would have felt like, manufactured.
Yeah, that makes more. Yeah, it's weird because there aren't any real trees or anything because they get in the way.
Yeah.
So it's like grass on some hills. It's quite strange. But yeah.
Unless there's some lore explanation where it's like, this world never could support larger than small plants or whatever.
Sure. Rubber, right? Yes. So, tribes ascend with your jump jets. Looks crazy. And for some reason got a perfect score from Eurogame. So I have to... Too much yawning on this evening cast.
Yeah, I told you guys.
Yeah.
Rob's going to fucking fall asleep at this rate.
I am. I'm dying over here.
All right.
Talk about what you played. Put some effort in.
That's my summary. I thought Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. Assassin's Creed. Not Assassin.
With your bros.
Assassin with the bro. I haven't got any bros yet.
The bro button.
Yeah, I've not been blessed with bros. It's just another Assassin's Creed game at the moment for me. It's
no mysterious eagles. The eagle sounds. That's the sound it makes.
You still get the eagle sounds, don't you? Like you get whenever you do a leap of faith, it plays the eagle sound.
Yeah, but there's a different eagle sound you get when you press the bro button.
Oh, really?
So look forward to that.
Does it sound like an owl?
Kind of.
Like,
it does sound like an owl, yeah. Maybe it's an owl. So yes,
but yeah, it's all right. I find myself quite liking them. It's like the problem is that perhaps, rather expectedly, not enough has changed really since 2. There's a reasonable amount of changes, but I'm not sure they're all for the better.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of contextual stuff that doesn't make. Well, I say contextual not in the sense of a game mechanic, but in the actual context of the setting that doesn't make quite so much sense anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Your base is a bit shit, and why are you repairing random bits of Rome? The sort of Borgia Tower thing is kind of, I don't know, it feels a little sort of tacked on, kind of thing. Not quite so.
Although the Borgia Tower sort of fight, sort of idea of taking them down is, well, not the idea like the story explanation, but the actual doing of it is interesting compared to
perhaps. It's okay. I mean, I suppose it gives like the random sort of like in the sort of restricted areas of the previous game slightly more point than they did before, because they were just sort of there.
Yeah.
Really, and there wasn't. Sometimes you could find them and go, "Oh, I wonder what's here," and then there's nothing, and there's like nothing at all. So I suppose it's okay, and of course it does give you some power, and it's one of those things to getting full completion, and it's. I'm not sure what Assassin's Creed obsession is with doing the whole very completionist sort of thing. Are they like trying to be the rock star of these sort of games? Because I don't really gel with that way of thinking, where there's like so much to do. Because the feather count seems to be dramatically reduced, but then they just replaced it with the Borgia flags, which are the same thing. So now there's two of these random
I don't understand
things. It's like, why two?
It's mysterious.
I suppose but they added a neat thing to that, I suppose, where whenever you've seen one of those things, it now appears on your map, so you can figure out how to get to it later.
Yeah, that's quite nice.
Which is quite nice. Because sometimes you'd see stuff on a mission, wouldn't you? And it's like, well, I haven't got time to fuck about and go get that.
Yeah.
I'll have to come back to it later.
But then you wouldn't know where to look.
Yeah. I mean, I think the graphics are slightly slicker this time.
Yeah.
Again, I wasn't expecting them to be a notch up after 2. I thought, as another incremental release it would be, but it is noticeable in places where it's just a little bit improved. It's nice. They've changed the styling slightly on the Animus HUD and all that kind of stuff. There's some neat hints on the menu screen of the old Animus, which is kind of cool. Me not knowing how the story goes, I don't know quite how that's going to fit in just yet, but it's kind of neat that it's there.
Yeah.
It sort of like shifts to the, I remember that style. And it's like, well, that's kind of cool. Where's that going to go? How's that going to come up later on? I do find a lot of the intro stuff kind of a bit too much of an attempt to be Uncharted.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. I know Desmond is Nolan North, but that first act in the caves underneath Monteriggioni, or whatever you said, Monte Carlo, Marzipan. It was just suddenly like, oh, this is very Uncharted, to the point where they're trying to trade off against each other with banter that's very much like Nathan and Elena,
but quite forced.
Kinda, yeah, a little bit forced, and also it seems a bit weird and sort of like occasionally out of place. How does Desmond? I know the bleeding effect is like taking effect and stuff, but why does everyone suddenly trust him to do these insanely acrobatic maneuvers? And like there's a bit where it's like, oh, we're not going to jump that, and then seconds later you're throwing Lucy across a cavern to sort of pull something down. Where of course the ruins seem to have ruined in precisely the same way about 3 or 4 times, so you can do the same thing.
Of course.
It's a little crazy. It's kind of a nice setting, but yeah, it's a little bit over gamey. I think that section.
Yeah.
And that was actually okay, but later on, of course, the sort of the platformy challenges, I suppose, sort of return, the sort of temple things.
Yeah,
and which
you never really liked, I don't think.
Well, no, because the controls aren't precise enough.
Yeah.
I don't think. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it more often, more than I was before. But it's taken me a whole 2 games to start to feel like I'm getting somewhere with this control scheme, and it still does stupid things every now and then. I'll be climbing a building, and my next move will be to jump 90 degrees away from it into the abyss of nothingness and die horrifically. It's like, why did you do that?
Why would you do that? You just couldn't, even if you wanted to, if you were actually there.
Well, the control to do that, supposedly, is to release the stick with right trigger down and then press jump.
Right.
But it just seems to do it sometimes at random. So I'm still pushing the stick. That doesn't mean jump away from the wall.
It means
go carry on. You lose the jump ability, which it doesn't really tell you about a little bit. You sort of. It plays a Metroid card, doesn't it, this game? So you start off for a while with all of your abilities from 2.
Yeah.
And then you lose them. And then it takes a little while because it's not completely obvious which ones you've kept and which ones you've lost. You keep quite a few, but not all of them. And the jump was one you lose the jump climb.
Yeah, that thing,
So you keep trying to do it for a while. It's like, this isn't working. Oh, right, I can't.
Yeah.
Cock.
That is so useful.
Probably led to a couple of the missed jumps because the controls probably didn't know how to deal with it. But it's yeah, it was a bit weird. I still think the controls need a bit of work, and I think that extends to the combat as well, which I was expecting to be from what you had said in the past to be a bigger step up, but it's not. It's pretty much identical to how it was before. They've added a couple of things that do make fighting large groups of guys a bit easier, but I find it just all a bit random. You know, the counter timing seems to vary quite a lot. Like, you'll do the same move like or feel like, at least, you're doing the same thing 3 or 4 times, and in the last attempt, you'll randomly get hit despite, like, pressing the counter button just before getting hit by the thing, which is, like, the perfect time.
Yeah.
And it will just go, no, I've hit you instead. And you're like, why? Wait, what just happened? What did I do differently there that means I've taken damage as opposed to doing a cool-ass counter kill? So, I don't know. I find combat kind of random. Still. It's
not as refined as the Batman system at all.
Well, no. Not even remotely. And it's like, in 1 it was too simple. It got to the point where fighting was always the best option.
Yeah.
In 2, they made it like they made some steps to make it slightly deeper, but in actual fact just made it more annoying. Which I suppose made you supposed to want to run a bit more, which is kind of a good thing. It sort of like follows the game's intentions a bit more.
Yeah, you're not some master killer, or you are, but you're not. You can't just stand and fight like Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, and I think this one tries to, but it does it in a bad way. It doesn't make it hard.
Yeah, which
would have been the best solution. Yeah. It's like make combat hard, but fair, and it doesn't feel fair, because it doesn't feel like it's doing what you want it to do. I think the controls in Assassin's Creed are its weakest point, which is a shame, because I think the rest of the game's got a lot going for it. And I'm still going to play it. I still like it. It's just that every now and then you're tearing your hair out going, what the fuck did you just do? Like, I totally agree with you on the full synchronization thing. Yeah. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's like it's one of those things that you want to get, but you know for a fact it's going to be the most irritating thing to try. Like, the very first one I struggled with, and most of them are quite easy in fairness, but then the first temple says, do this in 8 minutes. And 8 minutes is quite a long time for a time trial-y sort of thing for a start. So if you fuck it up, it's like, I've got to do a whole another 8-minute run. And I did this 4 times before getting it right. Because it requires nothing less than perfection to get within the time limit from a slightly imperfect control scheme, which is not the right way to go about it. You know, it's like Ubisoft haven't quite realised that their control scheme isn't dead on yet, and have actually just exaggerated the problem. It's always exacerbated, the better word for that. I don't know.
Yeah,
same difference.
Yeah, they've just sort of. They seem to be picking up on the shit points and making a big deal of them in a way by doing this stuff. So, yeah. I finished Sequence 2 with full sync, so I got the achievement. I don't think I really need to bother anymore. So it's I'll do it where I can. Like, I'll aim for it, but if I fuck it up, then I won't bother replaying.
Yeah, good. I think that's the best attitude. It took me a while to get that attitude, but I enjoyed it more after I realised that this is not going to happen.
Yeah, I just can't be asked with that. I know that how long the game is, and I don't think Assassin's Creed lends itself to replay.
No, not necessarily.
So I don't want to be replaying missions. Just, that's I don't want to have to do it. I prefer it for the story. It's one of those games I think I just play for the story. I could sort of fuck everything else. It's like, I like the story in it. It's like, I end up doing the side stuff anyway, but don't know why, really. Actually, when I think about it, I just end up doing it. But it's, I want to see where the story goes. And for that reason, it's genius. So yeah, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood. I'm going to keep with it.
Cool.
I'm trying to think what else I've been playing, other than Pinball Arcade, which I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
What else have we been doing?
We played Realm of the Mad God some more.
Oh yeah, Realm of the Mad God. I forgot about that.
I guess we didn't talk about that last time, did we?
We haven't really talked about it at all, I don't think.
What is this?
It describes
You've
itself...
talked about it before.
Have I? Okay.
At least once.
But it describes itself as a bullet hell MMO.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's kind of apt, I suppose. It's difficult to describe. It might play better as a dual-stick shooter than its mouse-keyboard control scheme, in fairness.
Because it's too easy to lose your pointer.
Yeah, because it just uses the mouse as your aim, but it doesn't really have an icon for where your mouse is, and of course your mouse cursor gets quite tiny on a nice display. So it's like, sometimes you're just like, where the hell am I aiming? After a while, I can't really see where my cursor is.
Especially when you're in a big mass of people who are all shooting.
Yeah. But the idea is it's a fairly simplistic top-down shooter where
Is this in a browser or something?
No, it runs as a client.
It has a browser version.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, it runs as a free-to-play client you can get on Steam.
Right.
It's a bit buggy, in fairness. The menus are a bit shit. But once you get into a game, you don't really have to worry about them anymore. You pick a class, which has a few very varying differences. Like you'll get a different secondary power and a different range. Yeah, your bullets will behave slightly differently. Swords are bullets.
Yeah.
That you just fire like shorter range bullets that do more damage and that kind of stuff. It's sort of a balancing act, whereas the more magical people fire super long range, shit all damage shots, or have like healing powers or other sort of weird effects like invisibility that lets you like not be seen or shot at for a while, kind of stuff. But basically, yeah, you get it tries to implement some RPG elements because as you shoot, you level up, which gives you more health and slightly better powers and things. And there's loot, which gives you more health again, generally, or more. Well, more defense or slightly better attack power.
Health via defense.
And things like that, and it carries on. And the basic idea is you progress around the world, going from like easier enemies to tougher enemies, until eventually enough people on the server have killed enough of the super enemies, I suppose, or what are they described as gods, aren't they? Like
specific enemies, basically.
Yeah, that tend to culminate in the middle of the map. And then the mad god gets angry, and then you go into like an end game process, which is like a super, super hard dungeon or something. But then everyone's in it, so there's like, how many players does it support? Is it like 80 or something?
Yeah, it's like 85 per shard.
Yeah, so you end up with 85 people in a single dungeon trying to blast their way through it.
Cool.
Which is bloody mental. And that's kind of the draw. It's like, I love those bits. But sometimes it's quite funny because like you really have to be as high level as you can. But when you start, you play through and you might not actually be max level by the time that event occurs, and then it's like, oh no, I'm in challenge mode now.
It's like, do you just abandon
it and come back later?
Because you can basically, there's a keyboard configurable button which is just like abort to the safe zone,
right?
That you can just press at any time.
Hyperspace, sort of.
Yeah,
kind of.
So it's like you can do that. It's like you do that to get out of trouble. Like when your health is going, when you're in like the last bit of your health, you can just go abort.
Well, the key thing to remember here is that, and this is vital to what we just described, is that death is permanent.
Yeah.
Right.
As soon as you die, that's it. Your character is gone.
Right.
You lose your work. But fortunately, the game sort of runs quite, flows quite fast, I guess.
Yeah, there's only 20 levels, and you can reach level 20 in like not very long.
But if you're on a good streak, you do it about a quarter of an hour, I guess. But on a long streak, it took me like over an hour to get to like 12 once.
Yeah, it depends.
Depends on what happens.
Yeah. Or what class you're playing as well.
Yeah.
That kind of helps in some cases. But then once you reach 20, it's just like you're going full fame, which is basically just how many of the god things you've killed over time.
Yeah, kill big stuff and eventually you'll get better
some slightly better loot.
Yeah. And it's sort of strangely addictive, isn't it?
Considering there's not really much to it. Yeah.
No, it's I don't really know why we ended up playing it for so long. Really, it's sort of you just end up.
Well, it's also going. Because the ending event only happens every
now and then. Yeah,
right.
And it kind of has a class unlock system as well, where you have to get to a certain point with a class, and then it unlocks the next type. So you end up just sort of going, "Oh, I wonder what this is like."
And when
that happens like 16 times, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and because of those new classes, it's like you don't want to deliberately kill off your character so you can make a guy with the new class. So you're just like waiting for your guy to die. But if you're doing well, you don't.
Yeah, you don't. I don't know. I have problems with the deaths to a degree because sometimes it just sort of happened for me, and I couldn't figure out what the fuck
Yeah, if you can get one hidden quite easily in some cases, even having to be one time.
Well, there are some times where it doesn't look like anything's actually happened to my character, or, I may have lagged out or something, and it's just like, oh, I'm dead. What the frick just happened? It's like, I didn't see any bullets coming, I didn't see any enemies coming towards me, it's just like, oh, I'm just dead.
Which I think that it would be...
From full health on level 20 with some fairly decent gear,
I think
it's just like, what the hell just happened?
It'd just be better if it, showed what happened for a few seconds
Or a
afterwards.
replay would be lovely.
Well, yeah, a replay, or just carry on for a couple of seconds. Because what it just does is just freezes and then fades out.
Yeah, it just goes, dong!
So it doesn't give you even an indication of, what enemies were near you or anything, if you didn't see them coming.
It's also relatively hard to see when people are dying around you.
Well,
occasionally
you hear the sound effect.
Occasionally you get a sound effect, yeah, if you're close enough. And very rarely you'll get, a tombstone.
Well, the tombstones stay there.
I've seen them sort of people die and not leave anything.
No, they always do.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
The tombstones don't hang around for that long, depending on what level you were.
Mm.
If you're less than level 20, they only stay there for 2 minutes.
Anyway, yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
It was mentioned on extra credits, games you might not have tried part 3. So, it's getting some recognition. It's just being there.
Yeah.
People seem to like it.
For being weird.
Yeah. It does have an real money drop system that I'm not quite sure I've figured out quite how that works. You can pay for character slots, so you can run multiples at the same time. As far as I can tell, the game only supports American currency, so it might not be available to us. Everything's marked in dollars, naturally. So I don't know if that's I don't know. I'm not sure I trust it anyway, to be honest, the way that thing's written. And I don't quite get the point. It's you can open character slots and stuff like that, but what are the other things? They seem to be just purely aesthetic, and it's do you keep them? Does it just apply to the character that you're currently running? Does that mean it's money down the drain when you die?
Yeah.
It's it's all a bit unknown. It's what does this stuff actually mean?
Yeah, the cosmetic stuff does seem, and it seems mostly pointless anyway, because you're just
they're tiny pixels,
shitty, tiny sprite.
Yeah, it's utterly pointless. But it's I don't know. I hope you make something out of it, but at the same time, I hope people don't buy the aesthetic stuff. Buy the character slots. That's probably reasonable. So there, play it, give it a try. And turn off the music.
Yeah, definitely. Well, if you don't turn off the music, what the fuck are you doing?
Listen to it for about 5 minutes and then turn it off. Because good God, that loop is short, yeah. And there's only one song. The sound is kind of funny.
Well, the sound can be equally annoying because it's just pew 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 constantly, and it's you even because all you're doing is just shooting all the time. So it's just you just have a toggle auto fire button, so you don't even have to hold down the button. You just turn it on. Just leave it going constantly.
Things die funnily though. It's the sound of pirates brah brah brah.
Yeah,
the dying sounds. It's I wish the enemies. Sometimes I wish the enemies would have bullet noises though, because I know. It's not really the done thing in bullet hell shooters, is it? Things don't generally make a shot noise unless it's a super weapon.
Yeah,
things just sort of appear.
Well, it would just be a giant clusterfuck of sound at that point.
Perhaps, yeah. It's already pretty mental when you've got 85 players all shooting.
Yeah, not that they all make a noise. Really.
No, other players tend to be quite quiet too. Actually, do they make a sound at all?
It's the hit noises that you hear.
Oh, yeah.
When you're beating on those fucking statues at the end of it, and everyone is just firing at it, and it does that phase where it's invincible because it's regenerating health, but everyone just keeps firing.
Yeah.
It's
yeah, so you hear all that. You don't hear them actually shooting.
Which is
so there's that.
Yeah.
Played a tiny bit more Sonic Generations.
I noticed.
Fuck, I love that game.
I was thinking about playing it because I saw you playing it. But then I just listened to some Sonic music and I was like, hey.
It sated you. Oh, man, that's such a brilliant game. It really is. I've finished all the challenges now.
Right.
All of them. So I've got that Chivo. I've got some red rings to go find. That's probably the last thing in the single player I've got left to do before I start hitting the time trials.
Right.
Trying to take on some of your times.
That time.
Things like that. Well, I'm pacing. It's classic pacing myself. It's one of those PC games that I just sort of if I've got 45 minutes or half an hour before I'd normally go to bed or something like that, then I'll just quickly fire it up and do a few things.
Yeah.
It's quite good for those quick blasts. But, oh man, I love that. So good. So good. How are they going to top it is my problem. How are they ever going to top that? Unless they have some real inspiration and actually start coming up with some new stages.
Yeah, if they actually manage to make an entirely new idea for Sonic rather than just refining something to actually succeed in refining it.
Yeah, but how do you build... The more I think about it, the more I find it hard. It's like, how do you actually beat Green Hill? Or how do you actually beat... Sky Sanctuary. I love Sky Sanctuary. It's like more than I did from the original 3. It was always an interesting stage in 3, if a bit annoying to play. But... Or is it Sonic and Knuckles? That's Sonic and Knuckles, isn't it? Sky Sanctuary.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, I think. But anyway, it's such a nice looking stage in Generations.
Yeah.
And it doesn't play badly either. So well, with the one exception of perhaps one section in the 3D bit that I've talked about before, where you have to double back on yourself and stuff just sort of appears as you're doing it.
Yeah.
That bit. But yeah, oh man. It's going to be difficult to beat. Pressure's on.
Guys.
Pressure. They haven't really done the DLC that we kind of hoped for, did they?
No, I predicted that they wouldn't, and then they didn't.
What a surprise.
They just haven't bothered. Which is frustrating, because they mentioned they'd put, like, they said during the development cycle, we've put, like, the ability to have DLC in the game.
Yeah.
And then they'd put that pinball table in. Which I might try, because it's pinball.
Oh,
but,
it's bound to be terrible pinball, though.
Oh, yeah, probably. Show my support pictures. Trying to think what else we've been playing. What else have I been playing? Do you know what I've been playing?
Not anything else.
Oh, not anything else?
Space Invaders Infinity, Gene.
Oh, yeah.
That was on sale on Xplar a couple of weeks ago. Picked that up, got round to playing it. It's a shooter.
Space Invaders.
It's fairly simple. The graphics are like... Well, if you've played Groove Coaster, haven't you? So it's the same style. The very simplistic, like, silhouette, sort of, I guess. Techno silhouette, let's call it. Type stuff.
Techno.
It's pretty hard, I have to admit. It's like I don't think I've got very far through it, and it's quite difficult. But I suppose that plays to the game's strength, which is that the more you play it, the more stuff you get, like because of the evolution system. If you complete a stage you've never done before, then you get like more experience. So it's always better to do well than actually progress through the game. But even if you don't, you get a little bit of evolution, and it's like the more you do every now and then, you'll get a new ability or you'll level up slightly. So in theory, it gets easier the more you fail, as well as the more you do well, which is a neat concept because it just sort of draws you in. I wonder what's going to come next, stuff like that, and it's a little bit cheap in places because like enemies will just spawn sort of where you happen to be or move in from the sides of the screen so fast, like in a sort of like whoa! Kind of action that you just have no chance of avoiding. So there's a bit of memory required to sort of play the levels properly. Which is probably the same as most shooters, I guess.
But it's not like to the point of it being a puzzle, like a character.
No, I guess not. It's just pattern recognition. You know, you just sort of learn where things are going to be and how you deal with it. It even offers sort of some weapon variation if you want to fancy playing some of the stages a bit differently, but I'm not sure I recommend that. Just stick to the normal bullets. They're okay for an experiment. They might help you through certain levels, but then you'll just die on the next one because it'll be inappropriate, you know, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's quite good. It's very, as I say, it's very simple. It has some presentation issues. Like if stuff explodes too much, then the sound sort of weirdly starts cutting out, like it can't deal with it. They will go blah, 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 goes a bit choppy, which is a shame. Some of the graphics I don't think work. There's this weird thing that I don't quite understand that I told Zach about. All of a sudden the screen seems to fill with these like flickering sort of circles of stuff that you can sort of shoot that doesn't damage you. But they just look a bit weird. It's like this, they look like they flicker. That the game's got so many objects on the screen that it can't deal with rendering them all at the same time. So they seem to sort of just flicker a bit awkwardly. But what the hell? They're not there to serve a purpose other than to shoot and score points. So you know the hell I can deal with that. But it's weird because the presentation's a little bit inconsistent. Some places that styling is fantastic. As I say, that sort of simple techno silhouette style looks really good and really impressive. But then there'll be like a hard cut as the level ends or something. It won't fade out or anything. It'll just go cut. That level's done, and it's sometimes when to move on from one of those results screens, it takes a fucking age for it to register that you're pressing the button.
Or just loading.
Yeah, this probably is loading, but of course it just says press button to continue, and it's still flashing while you're sitting there going, I'm pressing, and then it goes. It's like, why does it take that long to load? There's nothing to this game. It's like, it shouldn't load, ever. Perhaps to start up, but that's about it. But... Oh, and all the sound is basically like it was made on a Mega Drive.
Actually.
Which is kind of cool. Very old school. Very, I forgot they call like FM9s, and that sort of...
Some specific chip.
Yeah.
What, the sound chip on the Mega Drive?
Well, I don't know where the phrase comes from. I just sort of see it in... It's like something to do with FM modulation of sound or something.
Oh, right.
Like, and it creates a certain sort of like... How guitar sounds used to be on the Mega Drive, that sort of weird, sort of super rough, not quite...
Yeah.
Not even remotely right sort of sound, but there's a lot of that sort of going on, which sounds quite cool. Proper retro, proper suiting, which is good. Yeah, it's worth picking up, but maybe not at 800 points.
Fucking 800 points again.
In actual fact, this one
is old though.
This one, well, and it's not just that. It's just because there isn't much to it. If you know what I mean? I genuinely don't. I think 800 points is a bit much for what it is. 400, perfect. That's the perfect price point for it. I think there's too many games on Xplar that sort of come in high and haven't gone down. Like, it was only got it because it was on sale, but 400 points is probably the precise amount that you should pay for it. So look for it again.
On sale again.
And you can get it on iPhone, so it might be. Not sure how that would work exactly.
No.
Yeah,
but it is available for iPhone. Might play better on iPad, I guess.
I did play Grid Runner on iPhone.
Oh yeah,
it's good. The problem that you would imagine is a problem.
Controls.
Yeah, so they're fine until your finger's in the way of your ship. Simple as that. So you just have to strategically kind of put your finger in the right place on the screen. But the trouble is you can't just say, my ship's at the bottom, I'll put my finger at the top, because you obscure important
stuff. Then your hand's in the way.
Yeah, exactly. For example, or you can't just put it at the bottom. So basically, you have to kind of move. It works. I mean, the control is good enough, but then you always end up, you're like, avoid, and then eventually you've obscured yourself.
Yeah, or you run out of screen space.
Exactly. So, but it's pretty cool. But that was the inevitable trouble with it. So, I don't see how they could have solved that. So, they just did the best they could.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah, it's strange. Sort of like... I always wish they didn't try and do things like that on iPhone, really.
Yeah.
It's like, just stick to stuff that's good on touch.
Yeah.
Fuck the rest of it. Fuck gyro.
Break out your Angry Birds and make loads of money.
Yeah, exactly.
God damn it.
You're Angry Fish.
That's how you do it. At least Angry Birds, they made tons of money, but at least Angry Birds is a well-designed, fun game. When it comes to Farmville, it's like, for fuck's sakes.
Burn. It's like my hatred of Zynga has decreased. It's like I hate it when Zynga tried to do more gamey games.
Yeah,
if you see what I mean.
Just do words with friends. It's fine.
But yeah, when they do word games, not a problem. No problem. When they do sort of the slightly more, I don't know, things that might come under parlor games, I guess.
Yeah, draw this, isn't it? That's the latest thing, isn't it?
Draw something. That's not Zynga.
Not them, but that's the
OMG Pop.
Yeah.
I love that name. Oh my god, Pop!
Yeah. I think Zynga tried to buy them.
No, really?
They tried to buy Revio, but they were like, fuck off.
Yeah.
No way.
We're onto something too good here, bitches. Yeah.
It's definitely a bubble. Instagram for, what, $1 billion? No,
retarded.
That's retarded.
That is mental,
It's a massive bubble. Which will pop.
That Instagram thing is mental.
Idiotic.
At least Skype is big. When Microsoft bought it for free bill or whatever it was, it's like Skype has got quite a track record.
I mean, the argument for the Instagram that Eric kept hearing was, they're not buying the app, they're buying all the members. And it's like, But they probably already have all those people.
Yeah.
Who's got Instagram that hasn't got fucking Facebook? It's ridiculous.
It's crazy, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, Google bought Instagram, didn't they?
No, Facebook bought Instagram.
Oh, Facebook bought it.
Yeah.
Google. I got that wrong.
Google acquisitions are much more sensible. They bought YouTube. Yeah. Now that was probably a good idea in the long run. I don't know if it makes money, but
wait, so so Facebook themselves bought Instagram, not Microsoft for Facebook?
No. Facebook themselves bought Instagram. And Microsoft bought Skype. It's hard to see how they're ever going to make their money back from that deal, but at least it's worth having the best VoIP technology and denying it to other competitors.
Maybe,
I guess. If you could integrate that into Windows 8, I suppose it'd be quite cool.
Yeah, but that's never going to happen, I suppose, is it? Because always going to... Skype's... one of the point of Skype is that it's multi-platform, so it's on Mac, it's on iPhone.
Yeah, that's true.
If they suddenly started locking that down, it would be MSN.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what the deal was with that. I mean, eBay bought Skype, and they thought, people will obviously talk about their auctions using Skype. It'll clearly help us. No, why would you do that?
It's bizarre for eBay.
Yeah. Well, they were the owners, right? And then Microsoft bought it off them.
Don't know.
Anyway, we're coming to the end of this podcast.
We've made it, somehow.
We made it.
With, way too much filler.
You can tell by the sound we've got more tired as the
goes on.
You can tell we didn't talk about what I played.
Yeah, because you usually... Yeah.
Because that's when the noise
talking in the news section.
I played Minecraft and I played Eve. Both not very much.
I don't do.
Yeah.
We've talked about it now.
I was going to tell you about the ridiculousness of my Minecraft clocks, but they're just Minecraft.
I'll have to wait until the next time.
Tick, follows, top, follows, tick, follows, top.
Thanks for joining us on the Saladcast. See you next time when we won't be so exhausted. Woo! Bye! Yippee!
What are you expecting? What?